Gwendolyn Suplee is suing her son's ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old photo lab tech Courtney Starr, for stealing her jewelry and video camera and pawning them to buy drugs.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 554 on the calendar in the matter of Suplee versus Starr. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Suplee, the defendant used to be your son's girlfriend.
Yes.
Son?
Yes.
And she lived in your home for a while, according to what I read in your complaint, or stayed there?
Yes.
And she also had a drug problem. You didn't know that, I assume, at the time.
I was not aware of that.
Your complaint alleges that over a period of time, the defendant stole items from your home and pawned them.
That's correct.
You managed to get some of the things back.
That's correct.
2 items you did not, a bracelet and a video camera.
That's
you weren't going
correct.
to pay for those things. Ms. Starr says that she took care of everything she stole. She got it back for you. She doesn't know anything about this bracelet or the video camera. That's your defense.
Sorry.
What kind of drugs were you addicted to, Ms. Starr?
Prescription Xanax.
But you were getting it from means other than being prescribed by a doctor.
Right. I was getting it through a friend.
How long had you been addicted to Xanax?
It had been going on for about 3 months.
When were you staying at the Suplee home?
It was around last year.
When was she staying at your home?
July and August.
How did you discover the missing items?
Well, I had had minor surgery on the 2nd of September. I did not wear my jewelry that week. So the week after that, I believe it was the 13th, is when I went into my jewelry box to get these 2 rings to wear, and they weren't there. And I got very upset, and I went and woke my son up and my husband up and told them that I could not be late for work. I asked them to
see them, please?
To look around to see if they could locate them, and I left for work.
This was the 2nd week in September?
Yes. When I got to work, my husband called me and said that him and my son had found some pawn tickets in Courtney's purse. Courtney was in jail at the time. She had been arrested that weekend for a DUI. And so they went through her purse and found these pawn tickets in her purse where she had used a false ID and signed a false name on these pawn tickets, and she had taken my rings and a bunch of my other jewelry, which I didn't realize until I talked to my husband. When I called him, it dawned on me that my diamond bracelet and my opal and sapphire ring and my Guan peso earrings were not in there, so I asked him to check in my jewelry box and see if those were there as well, and he looked and he said they were not there. And when he went to the pawn shop and asked them about the ring, they just kind of looked at each other like they knew what he was talking about, but they weren't going to say anything.
You're Mr. Suplee.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened when you went to the pawn shop.
The first couple I went to didn't really tell me much because in Texas you can't really discuss a pawned item. So I went to the third one, and this is the one where they kind of looked at each other, and I asked to speak to the manager, and he came out from the back, and apparently on this particular item, the large diamond ring, she didn't pawn it, she sold it.
How much did she sell it for?
$35.
How many items in total did you ultimately get back from the pawn shops?
I don't know the total number that we got back. I know that we got back everything but 2.
And you got them back because her grandmother intervened, is that right?
That's correct.
You contacted her grandmother?
Well, actually, I called her mother, and I told her mother that we were going to file charges against her for taking these items, and her mother said that she had kicked her out of the house and to do whatever we had to do. So we went down the next day and filed a police report, and I do have the police report here.
May I see? Go ahead.
So then her grandmother called me at work and asked me what was going on, and I told her basically that Courtney had stolen some jewelry from our home and that I wanted the jewelry back, and that we had filed a police report against her, and if we didn't get the jewelry back that we were going to prosecute her. So she called and talked to him.
What did she say?
She said she had discussed it with Courtney's mother and Courtney, and that she was going to go ahead and help Courtney out and apparently loan her some money.
Good. That's how you got the stuff back.
Yes, ma'am.
What didn't you get back?
We did not get back my gold peso bracelet and a video camera.
Is that a Sony video camera?
No, this is not a Sony video camera. It's a Sharp.
Did you get back a Sony video camera?
No, that was not ours. She's pawned.
Where did you get the Sony video camera?
Sony video camera?
Yeah, that you pawned.
I didn't know that there was a Sony video camera.
So it's possible that you were not in complete control of your senses at all times when you took this property and you stole from more homes than one.
True.
Mm-hmm. All right. You weren't missing binoculars, were you?
Well, not that I know of, but these were the rest of my jewelry that she pawned that we got back.
I'll take a
in
look
addition
at it.
to the rings.
But I see here binoculars, DVD movies, Black & Decker hedge cutter.
We did not realize those were even gone until we went to the pawn shop, and those were there. Only then did we realize that those had been taken.
Okay. All right, Miss Starr, I'm going to listen. Do you have anything to say to me?
I remember taking the jewelry, all the jewelry.
When did you take the jewelry?
It was spread out. It was like an everyday thing. It went on for a month.
So you mean each day you would go and take something else?
Mm-hmm. Just so I could go get more Xanax.
Where else did you steal from?
I also stole from my own family.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Sheindlin Suplee says her son's ex-girlfriend, Courtney Starr, stole her jewelry and video camera and pawned them for drugs.
How much is the gold bracelet worth?
The gold bracelet we bought 15 years ago when we went on a trip to Cancun. So since it was 15 years ago, I do not have a receipt for it, but it was $650. I have pictures of me wearing it.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
What's the son's name?
James.
James, you're going to take your father's place, please. James, you have a drug problem?
No.
Did you?
No.
Did you know that Miss Starr had a drug problem?
Well, I did in time. So we realized this was going on, and I realized that it was a problem.
I'm talking about before that.
No.
Before the jewelry episode.
No.
Had no clue?
Mm-mm.
Really?
Yeah.
How long had you been together?
Well, about 6 months.
Why did you invite her to your house?
Well, things were going pretty good, and after she started staying and spending a lot of time with me, she had lost her job, and she just kind of fell off the edge, and stuff started going downhill.
I don't know what that means.
She lost her job. We started having problems. She didn't have any money, and that's when I realized that something funny was going on. That's when I decided to check her purse for the pawn tickets, right after my mom realized that the jewelry was missing.
That doesn't answer my question, James. If you're dating somebody for 6 months, you don't invite them to come to your house to stay. She has a mother, she has a grandmother. Didn't it strike you, young man, that if she wasn't welcome in her mother's house and her grandmother's house, that there might be something wrong with her?
Yeah, I mean, she's welcome at her mother's and her grandmother's house. It was...
James, what do you do?
I'm a human resource manager.
How old are you?
25.
Where do you live?
Lake Dallas, Texas.
You live at home?
Yes.
Not anymore.
I just recently moved out a few weeks ago.
Who do you live with?
2 roommates.
Perfect. That'll help him grow up. It's time. Time he wasn't tethered to your side. Do you have any other children home?
No, I do not.
Yes! When did you buy the video camera?
We bought the video camera in 1979. Here is the receipt for the video camera.
Can I see it, please?
It came from Fry Electronics.
You have receipts from 1979. You are one organized lady.
I did not. I had to call them up, and we had to get them to mail it to us. I did not have it.
Gwen.
Huh?
It wasn't 1979.
What year was it?
Well, it'll say on the receipt,
Yeah.
but it wasn't 79.
Okay.
$382, is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so let's go back. $1,060. I hope that completes the debt. Hope that you didn't take any property from anybody else. You off the stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Working?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
I am a photo tech at Walmart.
Okay, fine. Where are you living?
My parents.
Getting along all right?
Yes, I've cleaned up a lot.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Well, so you have another 60 years to go. So you have 60 years to do it right. First couple of years weren't so hot. Make sure the last 60 are better.
Right.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,060. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I've just had a rough life. I guess it's because of my childhood.
It hurt. It hurt a lot.
I've learned to shape my life up, quit doing drugs.
We don't hate her. We don't like what she did, but we don't hate her.
I knew I needed to change.
I tried to have some understanding for the fact that there was drugs involved, and maybe she wasn't in her right mind. But at the same time, you make your own bed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lombardo versus Rao. Step forward, please.
21-year-old waitress Elizabeth Lombardo is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old construction worker Bo Rao, for several loans she made throughout their relationship. Bo says Elizabeth is holding his belongings hostage.
Miss Lombardo, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend, and you lived together for a period of time. According to you, when you separated, he owed you some money.
Yes.
Mr. Rouse says he doesn't owe you any money. Relationships are a give-and-take thing. So get over it and move on with it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you live together, Miss Lombardo?
We lived together from May probably to August of 2004. We started in May 2003.
Is that about right?
That's about right.
And did you move into an apartment together, or did you...
No, we moved in with my family.
That's wrong, Your Honor. Prior to that, we were living at my apartment with my brother, and she was staying over there. Then we moved.
When was that, sir?
That was April and May. We stayed in the apartment, then moved there.
I still had a room in my house. It wasn't.
I don't care whether you still had a room in your house. Were you living with Mr. Rao and his brother for April and May?
Yes.
And then the two of you moved into her family's house?
Yes, ma'am.
Where you had a room?
Yes.
Fine. So what does he owe you money for?
Throughout the course of our relationship, the defendant didn't have a job, so I helped support him.
Okay.
From a dental bill, his car windshield was smashed. Dentist, car
You said
payments,
dentist
municipal
twice.
court payments.
Your Honor, I had a job.
So you gave him money?
Yes.
And?
We had a verbal agreement when we were going out that he would pay it back.
Well, tell me about the verbal agreement that he would pay it back.
Just throughout the court, he would pay me money when he had money, and when he didn't have a job, I was always forking out money for him.
How often? 5 times, 10 times, 20 times?
It was constant.
And he always said to you, you have $20, I'll pay you back. You have $50, I'll pay you back.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
Then when we separated, we decided he was going to make payments of $40 a week, in which he never continued to do. I received one payment of $50.
Just a minute. Well, how did you come up with the amount that he owed you?
We kept it in mind at all times.
Did you?
No, Your Honor, when we were going out, we weren't keeping...
When you moved out, did you agree to pay her a sum of money?
Oh, no, Your Honor.
You did not?
No, Your Honor.
When you separated, did you sit down and write up something?
Yes.
Let me see it. Did you sign this IOU?
No, Your Honor. And for us to sign each other's name on something was pretty common. I could show you receipts with my signing for her debit card, or her signing for my debit card. It was nothing.
You didn't sign this?
No, Your Honor.
Right. Tell me the circumstances surrounding your separation, Mr. Rao.
The relationship just got ridiculous. She was constantly lying. Everything that would come up would be a lie about something. I couldn't live at her house anymore. And I actually left for the weekend after a fight, and when I came back, all my stuff was at my parents' house, and she said that I had to be out.
So she moved your stuff out?
She moved it with no notice of anything, so
Okay.
then she wanted me out.
I'm ready to hear the rest. 30 seconds or less, Ms. Lombardo.
When he moved out, when he wanted his bed, his stuff was there, that's when you don't believe that he signed the paper.
Well, just a minute. So is what you're telling me, you told him he couldn't take his things unless he signed the paper? Mm-hmm. Then even if he signed it, it's worthless.
He had this agreement with me.
Let me explain something to you. He didn't. What you're saying is that during the course of your year and some months relationship, if you gave him $20, if you gave him $50, whatever it was, he said to you, when I get it, I'll pay you back. And that's what people do when they live together and they're not married. Don't worry, honey, I'll pay you back. That's not a loan. When two people play house and not commit to a relationship as we know it and get married, courts aren't interested in going over $20 here, $5 here, $15 there, $100 for the dentist, $12 for this. Courts aren't interested in doing that. We got other things to do. Mm-hmm. So it's been my suggestion, if you watch carefully, if I've always said, keep your finances separate. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to put a real period and say, it's over.
I'm fine.
How
with
old
that.
are you?
21.
21? Perfect. You didn't waste a lot of your time. You didn't waste the best years. You didn't waste the flowing years. Who is this, by the way?
This is my girlfriend, Your Honor.
She have anything to contribute to this case other than, looking nice?
No, just
she decided to come with you.
She's
to
seen the craziness.
To irritate her.
Yeah.
Well, probably not the best idea to bring her. Who is this?
This is my friend.
So he brought a girlfriend, you brought a friend. Move on. He did. You should. Have a happy life. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
Just pathetic that he has to lie, that I didn't lend him money, that I supported him, and that he didn't sign the paper when he did sign the paper.
She makes up fake things. She lied. The whole relationship was basically a joke.
You trust someone and you can't.
It was out of trust and love because she's a nice person, and that's what happens when you're nice to people and trust them.
She just needs to get over it because he doesn't want her anymore.
He's a scumbag.
It's over, man. It's over. It's all over.
Law student Emily Todoran is suing her ex-boyfriend, waiter Chad Bracken, for unpaid loans and a couch. Chad says Emily has been paid in full.
That's case number 499 on the calendar, the matter of Todoran versus Bracken. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Todoran, who was your witness?
My old roommate, Julie Perry.
Does she have information with regard to this case?
We lived together when Chad and I first started dating and when I moved out to New York with him.
That doesn't answer my question. Does she have evidence with regard to this case, or is she just here for moral support?
She's
is not an answer. Come on. You're going to law school?
Yes.
All right. That's what I gather from your complaint. If you're going to law school, you give me an answer. Does she have evidence? Does she have testimony to offer? Is she here as just for good company?
She just has testimony.
Just has testimony. What year of law school are you in?
First.
Okay. And he?
I'm learning.
It's Ryan Barr. That's one of my best friends from New York. He'll offer testimony. He helped move the furniture.
Okay, good. You two people used to be in love with each other. You lived together for a little while. You don't anymore. And you claim he owes you some money for a loan, and he's got some property that belonged to you, a sofa or something that he agreed to pay for, and he didn't when you broke up. Mr. Bracken says that you were involved in a give-and-take relationship. That's what people do when they live together. Sometimes you paid, sometimes he paid. He owes you nothing.
Correct.
When did you move in together and where?
We first moved into an apartment. It was in June of 2003.
Listen to me. Is that the apartment we're talking about in this case?
There are two apartments. We moved into
I'm
one.
not interested in the first apartment, 2003.
They're both 2003.
Get to the one where you were living in, where you say you had to advance money for the security and first, last, and security. When was that?
That was July 2003.
How much was the rent on the apartment?
$1,700 a month.
What were you doing at the time?
I got a job as a freelance designer.
And he?
He's a production assistant.
And you agreed to split the rent?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Good. Did you give her money for rent?
Yes, I did.
How much?
Half the rent. And what would happen a lot of times is...
I'm talking about when you first moved in.
Sorry.
When you first moved in, you have to give first, last, security. It's a whole big chunk of money.
Right.
Did you have that money to give her?
It did not happen in July the way you're stating it.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
So you did not give her that money. How much did you give the landlord in July?
$5,000.
You have proof of that?
I have a receipt for my deposit and for $1,700, and I have the receipt for the broker's fee that I paid of $1,700.
Well, let me see what you have the receipt from. You should have the receipt from everything. You should have your check, cancel checks.
Your Honor, I didn't keep a lot of the documentation because he was my boyfriend and I trusted him and I loved him and I did not think that I would ever need these kind of things. We had an oral agreement.
Listen to me, my dear.
I trusted him. I know it was stupid.
Listen to me, my dear. You're going to law school. When two people love each other and are committed to each other, they get married. Then we have courts for them. What happened with you is you decide to come into court and to sue him and say, listen, I didn't keep my receipts. I don't have proof, but we had an agreement. And our agreement when we moved in together was we were going to split the bills down in half, right? And we didn't. I paid more. And he says, well, there came a time when you moved into this apartment that you lost your job.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up the slack.
No, he didn't.
Well, that's what he's saying.
He's lying.
Just a second. How am I supposed to figure that out?
I moved out in December and I paid rent through the end of January to give him time to find a new place because actually we were getting evicted.
Show me.
I can't. I called the landlord and they refused to send me receipts since I was involved in a lawsuit. I'm telling the truth. I'm under oath. I would not make this up.
Did you break the lease?
We did. They just let us out. They just let us out of it.
What happened in 2004?
He made payments to me all year.
How much?
He paid me payments of $62, $100, $60, $50, $150. The last payment was this past December, 2004. I have the cashier's check right here for $150.
How much did he pay you in total?
$422.
What did you give her $422 for?
I felt that I owed her after, because every time I would try to negotiate with Ms. Todoran and say, because she always stuck with that number. And
what number?
$5,800. And I said, there's a lot of things that we need to talk about, why certain expenses shouldn't be considered in that debt and other things like that. Now, so what I came to determine was $1,400. And so I was acting in good faith by paying towards that.
Okay, so let us say that after 2.5 years, you decided that $1,400 was your fair share.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you paid for some things, she paid for some things. Neither of you have records.
I have records. I can show
So
everything.
why didn't you finish paying the $1,400?
No, I did. That's
she
what
says
the
she
payment...
got $400 from you, $422.
Okay, I can show...
Show me cancel checks for more.
Certainly.
And then we're out of here.
Well, I can only show you $300 in addition to what she is saying.
Show me.
There's that, as well as I have copies of the... I would write bills down that I owed on legal
Just a second. I
pads.
see one thing for what?
It's very hard to tell this
I
stuff.
see one thing for $150.
And the other thing does say 150. It's hard to tell.
Well,
know
I
it's
can't
under
read it. If
100.
I can't read it, my dear, then it doesn't exist.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says ex-boyfriend Chad Bracken owes for loans and a couch. Emily says moving to New York with Chad was a big mistake.
She has $422.
Mm-hmm.
Does that include a check on November 29th, 2004 for $150?
I have a copy of that right here.
Okay. You got credit for it.
Okay.
$422. So what happened to the rest?
All
What
right.
happened to the other $1,000, Mr. Bracken?
Okay. Now the rest, well, there are payments. As Ms. Toteron said, we didn't keep a lot of these things, so I've shown you everything that I do have.
All right. So let's
But I
start from
do
the
have, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I do have all the expenses from moving her furniture, which was 6 months after she left, actually almost 7 months after she left, that I kept with me. I moved twice. Mr. Barr helped me move these things into Brooklyn. Now, when we moved from New York, I moved everything and paid all the expenses to return her furniture to her.
How much was that?
$1,227.
Did you receive furniture from him?
No, I did not.
Just what did you return to her, sir?
I returned all her stereo equipment, a television.
Nope.
Show me the address where you sent it.
I didn't send it. She came and picked it up from my house when I got back to Indianapolis.
Lies.
You said expenses to send it back to her.
No, to move it back.
Give it back to him. You owe $1,000. That's based on your statement, sir, because I'm not going through your bills from 2.5 years ago. $50 here and $12 there. Let's take what you have.
Okay.
The debt that you acknowledge was $1,400 and you paid her $422. That leaves about $1,000. Now, what about this couch that she says that she sold to you and you never paid her for?
Okay, can I just back up 1 second?
Yeah.
So the moving expenses.
I'm getting so bored with this.
All right. The furniture. Basically, the furniture. When she decided to move, she said she would stay until February. In actuality, 3 days later, she was packing when I got back from work in a minivan. Now,
It must have been your personality.
I can't speak to what was in her head. I can't speak to what her.
The couch.
Okay, so she left 3 days later in a minivan. She said, "I can't, move this furniture." I said, "Well, if you're going to charge me half of it, take the furniture with you." She said, "No, I can't move it. You keep it."
Okay, and your version of the couch?
My version of the couch is we went to the store together with the intention of purchasing a couch and paying for half of it, which I've received
So
right
you weren't
here.
intending to purchase a couch for half. You were intending to purchase a couch for full price.
Yes, so I
And you're
purchased-
each going to pay half.
I purchased the couch for full price, and before I purchased it, I said, "You're going to pay me back for half of this, correct?"
Just don't look at it. Don't look at it.
Okay, and he said yes. So then when I was moving, he was going to stay in New York for an indefinite period of time. So I said, "You know what? You keep the couch. You still owe me half for it, but you just go ahead and keep it."
Listen, when two young people want to play house, they shouldn't irritate me. You have the couch?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you return her stereo equipment?
Absolutely.
No.
Did you return her television set?
I returned everything.
Go ahead.
Sometime in April or something, the new apartment he lived in New York burnt down.
Did he return any property to you?
He returned my TV, but my stereo apparently was damaged in the fire.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out. Don't play house anymore.
Parties are excused. May step out.
The defendant is probably the biggest liar I've ever met in my entire life.
When we got to the end of the relationship and she hadn't been employed for 2 months, she realized she'd be safer back at home. I think she left.
I thought Chad was sketchy all along, so I was actually warning her at the time when she wanted to move to New York with him to not do it.
She made a bad decision being in New York, and she paid for it, and she wanted me to be the easy target.
I just don't understand how a person like that can live their life and get out of bed and think they're a good person every day. And his hair is kind of disturbing, too.
I hope this ends it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLeish versus Kramer, step forward.
21-year-old department store manager Ashley McLeish is suing her former friend, retail salesperson Angela Kramer, for her share of a trip to Las Vegas. Angela claims Ashley and her witness coerced her into going.
How old are you, Miss McLeish?
21.
Miss Kramer?
21.
You used to be really good friends, and you claim that Miss Kramer owes you for her share of a trip that the two of you took to Las Vegas.
Correct.
And Miss Kramer says she had a lousy time, right?
Yeah.
And in addition to having a lousy time, she never agreed to pay you back.
That is incorrect.
Miss Kramer, what do you do for a living?
I'm a student in retail sales.
Where do you work?
I work at Mervin's.
You live by yourself?
No.
Who do you live with?
I live with my father.
In his house?
Yes.
Miss McLeish, What about you? You're a student?
Yeah, I go to Golden West College, and I'm a retail manager at Mervyn's, and I live with my parents.
Okay, good. Now, you went on vacation?
Yes.
For how long?
3 days.
You were going there for what reason?
Because it was our 21st birthday, so me, her, and my witness wanted to have a good time, and on our 21st birthday, Vegas is like the place to be.
Good. So, you asked her to go with you?
Yes.
She said?
Yes.
And?
So I looked online for prices for hotel and airfare because we wanted to fly there. And after...
Did Ms. Kramer say that you should put these charges on your credit card?
I agreed to put it on my credit card, and the agreement was that she would pay me back before we left on August 1st.
Your Honor, that's not...
Just a second. She didn't pay you back?
No, she hadn't paid me back.
What did she tell you about paying you back?
She said she'll get back to me. So I figured it would, like, she'd pay me back when we got back because we're having a great time. We both had fun. We went out to dinner. We went dancing. We went to clubs. We got VIP everything. We didn't have to pay for anything. And all she did was...
Why not?
Why not? Because the month before we had made a connection. Our friend knows a lot of like security guards, and he knows a lot of bouncers, so we got to get in free. We didn't have to wait in like 2-hour lines to get in the best clubs.
Okay. According to you, you had a good time.
Right.
Came back, she didn't pay.
Right.
Go.
I never agreed to pay. When she said that the hotel, the price of it, I said that's way too high and I'd rather just stay at my family's house because I can stay there for free.
So why didn't you?
Because when I told them that, they said, just don't worry about it.
And somebody dragged you on the plane?
Well, you know, it's my 21st birthday. I was trying to distance myself anyways, and that's why...
I'm asking you, somebody dragged you on the plane?
No.
Well, if you didn't want to go, why did you go?
Because they said just don't worry about the costs.
Well, why would you think that they would take you away on vacation?
Because that's what they said.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
I actually have pictures, if I could show you, of her having a good time dancing.
I don't care whether she had a good time or whether she had a lousy time. It's irrelevant to me.
Your Honor, I was trying to get out of the vacation because I didn't want to go with them. And when they said, just come on, please go, I decided, fine, I'll go. Because they said, don't worry about any of the costs. Don't worry about anything.
Your Honor, may I say something, please?
Step up. Tell me your name.
My name is Lori Irigoyen. And we spoke to her the night before we left, and she said, yeah, she couldn't afford it. But then we said, okay, we've still put it on a credit card. You need to pay us back, or you need to pay Ashley back. She didn't want to do that. Well, you can't.
Well, what did she say?
She said, no, I don't have to pay you back. If I don't go, I shouldn't have to pay you back.
Exactly.
Why did you call the night before?
Because I had talked to them recently before that also, because what I was doing was I was talking to my backgrounds investigator, and when I was going through looking at the lie detector test and polygraph...
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Well,
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
What it is I'm going for a future career in the criminal justice, and so I was talking to a backgrounds investigator, and she was showing me the polygraph test that you would have to be taking, and it had to ask questions about your friends and what you know about your friends, and that can make you fail and make it so you can't get into a premier area.
So
I had
please.
I had decided that I didn't want to be around any negative influences where I know that things are going on.
So why did you go?
Because I made a mistake. I thought...
Good. That's what you say. You say, I made a mistake. And when you make a mistake, what do? Pay! Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $296.45.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All you guys excused, you may step out.
I think after a while, people just stop being friends, and it just, like, you have nothing in common anymore.
I had been friends with her for over 9 years, and you kind of want to salvage a relationship.
She didn't want to do anything. She...
The entire time.
The restaurant wasn't good enough for her. Nothing was good enough for her.
They just contradicted themselves afterwards because all I did was about the entire thing. How did I have this grand old time that they were saying that I had in the courtroom?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rice versus Welkowitz. Winnie, step forward.
Restaurant owner David Rice is suing 18-year-old James Welkowitz and his former friend, 18-year-old James Winnie, for damaging his restaurant's sign when they were driving drunk.
Welkowitz, raise your hand. Winnie, raise your hand. Which one of you was driving the car?
I was, Your Honor.
Which one was the passenger in the car?
I was, Your Honor.
Which one was drunk?
Both of us.
Raise your hand. Mr. Rice, you are the owner of a Wendy's.
Yes, I am.
These two idiots came through your drive-thru.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wilkowitz driving the car?
I believe so, yes.
And Mr. Winnie, passenger in the car.
Yes.
One of them wanted free food.
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your hand if you wanted free food. Raise your hand! And when they were told they couldn't get free food, they drove off.
Sped off, yes, Your Honor.
And damaged some of your property.
Hit a light pole and ran over a sign. Yes, ma'am.
And you want them to pay for the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see the damage, please?
Yes. I have pictures also, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the pictures. I'd like to see the estimates.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, Bert, thank you. And I have police reports also.
Date of the incident, please.
October 21st, 2004.
October 21st. That's my birthday.
Happy birthday. My brother's birthday also.
Now, you gentlemen were not celebrating my birthday, were you?
No.
What were you celebrating on October 21st?
What were we celebrating? We're just having a night out, just drinking.
And whose car were you driving, Mr. Wilkowitz?
I was driving his car.
And how did you get the keys to his car, Mr. Wilkowitz?
He gave them to me. He asked me to drive because he was too drunk. He was swerving all over the road. So he just got back from Taco Bell.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
What do you do?
I do construction.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
June. 04.
And you?
I didn't graduate, Your Honor.
How old
I
are you?
graduate this year.
How old are you?
18.
Are you on a 5-year plan
No,
of high
8.
school?
No.
A 6-year plan?
I started school late.
You think you're going to get smarter by being drunk?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Rice has had about $1,200 worth of damage to his property. Who's going to pay for it? I don't see those hands going up.
Hey, Your Honor, can I say something, though?
That's wiping your nose, sir. I don't see the hands going up. Who's
I just
gonna
wanted to
pay?
bring up that he did break my nose. We got out the car, I pulled over, he broke my nose, I had to go to the hospital.
He broke your nose. That before or after you damaged Mr.
After.
Shh. Is that before or after you damaged Mr. Rice's property?
After I damaged his property.
Why would I care about that? I'm going to say it again. You were driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Raise your hand and tell me who's going to pay for Mr. Rice's damaged pole and sign. Oh.
Can I say something, Your Honor? The only reason why I hit the sign because he grabbed the wheel.
Why would I grab the own wheel in my car?
Why were you in the car with him when you were drunk?
He took my keys from my friend's mom.
Yes. That doesn't tell me how you got into the car, sir.
Because he was about to take off with my car.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's lying.
Oh. I can't anymore. I can't anymore. I mean, it's Dumb and Dumber. They were the standard for the script.
You read my mind.
Mr. Rice.
Yes, ma'am.
Sad but true. Youth of America. Judging for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,200. Sorry. Just take him out.
Okay. Please excuse you. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I was the manager on the shift, and they came through drunk, rude.
He only got 6 months probation and a night in jail. I got 93 days in jail and a year of probation.
It would have never happened if he wouldn't have took my keys.
Judge Judy is always fair, and she's just like Dave Thomas of Wendy's. She does the right thing, and that's why I brought it to her attention, and I knew we would get satisfaction.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Perry versus Bartle. Step forward.
Homemaker Lynn Perry is suing Travis and Michelle Bartle for the cost of vet bills. Lynn says Michelle's 12-year-old son, Matthew Fry, beat on her cat with a stick.
Miss Perry, Mr. and Mrs. Bartle's son injured your cat with a stick. And you want them to pay the vet bills. And Mr. and Mrs. Bartle seem to say it was the cat's fault because the cat was out running loose and the cat should not have been running loose. That's your defense, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You, over here.
Seat up here, okay?
So, you watch me. Don't take your eyes off me for a second. Your son told you the following story, which I gather from your answer. That he was riding down the street at his grandmother's house, and a dog was chasing him in the middle of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And he had a stick, and he accidentally hit the cat.
That's what he told me.
And that's what you believe.
He told me that the bike hit the cat, and then the stick hit the cat, too, yeah.
Oh. Now, your cat was seriously injured.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of a cat is it?
She's actually a mutt. She's pure white, one blue eye, one green eye, 16 years old.
Managed to get through 16 years before she met this young man.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of injuries did she have?
She's lost some sight in her left eye, and she was bleeding from her nose and her mouth when the incident happened.
You're 12 years old?
Yes.
You do okay in school?
Yeah.
When did you go to your grandmother's house that day, Matthew?
We went over there that morning.
Who went over there?
Me and my two sisters.
Now, there came a point at some time that you were outside on your bike.
Yeah.
Who were you riding with, yourself or with your sisters?
I was by myself. It was after I took my sisters to their friends.
And about how far was that? A block, 2 blocks?
About a block.
Did you have any trouble taking your sisters over to their friend's house?
No.
Did you have any trouble coming back?
I...
Look at me.
The dog.
Look at me.
I was getting chased by the dog.
Oh,
on
that's
the
what
way
you...
to my
Just a dog. Was it a big dog?
It was a bulldog. It was about up to my knees.
And where did that big bulldog start to chase you, Matthew?
Right as a stop sign after I was coming down the hill. I was going to turn down and go down the hill, and it started chasing me.
And you didn't get off your bike from the time the bulldog started to chase you until the time you hit the cat. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you tell me when you got this stick. Is not an answer. Look right here.
I left with the stick from my grandma's.
You did?
Yes.
Why would you leave carrying a stick?
The dog was chasing me.
No. The dog didn't start chasing you until you got to a stop sign, Matthew.
Yeah, from my sister's friend's house.
That's not what you told me. You told me that the dog started to chase you when you were making a turn at a stop sign.
Yes, ma'am. Or right as I took the right turn, he started chasing me.
Right, and you didn't get off the bike. So if the dog was chasing you, and I asked you, when did you get this big stick?
Before I left the house.
Why would you start carrying a stick on your bicycle?
Because he's bit me before, and I didn't want to get bit again. And
Matthew, I don't believe you.
My mom was...
Matthew, I don't believe you. You may have told that story to your mother and father about the big dog chasing you and the stick, but I don't believe it. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you want to tell me how you hit this cat with the stick?
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to hear the truth from you.
Yes, ma'am.
You say yes, ma'am. You make sure you believe yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I was riding down the hill with the stick in my hand because that's when the dog was chasing me.
Yeah, how big a stick was it?
It was a broomstick.
A broomstick?
Broke in half.
Go ahead.
I was riding down through there, and I was looking back. That's the time that the dog was chasing me. And I kept on looking back, and he wasn't there. And I turned around. I didn't know what it was until I hit it. And I saw that it was a cat. I really didn't mean to, but... So.
I still don't know how it got hit in the face with a stick.
I was riding down through there, and it was in the middle of the road. And I looked back, and I looked forward, and I hit it.
With the stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Baloney. Go sit down. It's not true. It's not the way it happened.
Well, he told me that he hit the cat with the bike and then the stick, and the bike has freestyle pegs on the front.
He was lying to you. I raised 5 children. None of them ride their bicycle that they're supposed to hold on to with 2 hands, carrying a broomstick in one hand, unless they're looking for trouble. You got me?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand? You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
They may have believed you momentarily. Maybe they still do. I don't believe you, Matthew. You're not supposed to hurt a living thing. Ever. And if a dog was chasing you, you don't take your bike out. You stay at your grandmother's house. And if it was chasing you when you took your sister to their friend's house, stay at the friend's house and call your grandmother. And call your mother and say, I'm afraid to go home because this big bulldog is chasing me. You understand?
Yes,
that's why I don't believe you. All they're asking for is their vet bills. You're lucky. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $605.01. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have a 3-year-old son that was out playing at the same time the incident happened, and he came running in the house telling me that Kitty had blood.
The police came and we talked to them.
We ran outside, and of course, Cat immediately went to the emergency room.
He was crying. He was upset.
Our cat was on the side of the road, sitting, doing nothing, and you'd have to be pretty close to it to hit it.
It was an accident.
If they can just know what's right from wrong and help him learn a lesson, then I'm pretty much satisfied.
Hayward Berger is suing his ex-wife, speech pathologist Cynthia Berger, for the return of $300 he overpaid in child support. Cynthia says she used the money to pay for their daughter's graduation.
Come to order. All rise. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 334 on the calendar in the matter of Berger versus Berger. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Berger, you and the defendant used to be married. You have 2 children together. You've been divorced, according to your complaint, for 18 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that your former wife owes you $302.44, which you claim you overpaid in child support for one of your children, You graduated from high school and the money was taken out of your pay.
Yes, ma'am.
You want her to give you back that money.
Yes, ma'am.
And your former wife says that she used that money for your daughter's graduation, the expenses for graduation, and get over it. Which, quite frankly, considering everything in this world, would be my response to you, too, were you my ex-husband. But since we're not there, I'm going to find out whether there is any merit to your claim, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You have how many children?
4.
How old are they?
The youngest is 14. The oldest is 24.
Okay, and with the defendant, you have an 18-year-old
Yes, ma'am.
and?
22-year-old.
So it's only your 18-year-old daughter that we have issue with. Your younger children still live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how much child support were you paying when both children were living with your former wife?
When I was paying for both of them, at the end, it was $300 a week, I think it was.
$300 a week or $300 a month?
Sometimes support was ordered per month. Sometimes it was ordered per week.
You know?
Yes, ma'am. It was $760.
A month?
Yes, ma'am. This is the documentation of all the, since it's been going through child support enforcement, of how much he's been paying.
Did you ever pay, sir, $1,500 a month for support?
$1,500 a month? No,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So when you told me $300, that you were talking about $300 per month, not per week.
Yes, ma'am.
Per month.
It's been, sometimes the support
Now,
was
listen
ordered per
to me.
week.
I understand that,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
when it was ordered per week, it was never $300 a week.
No, ma'am.
Well, then you made a mistake.
If I said that, then yes, I
Yes,
did.
you made a mistake. It was never $300 a week. Maybe it was $300 a month.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to find out.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just wanted to find out whether you've been an overindulgent parent.
I've always paid what the court ordered me to pay.
I understand that you've always paid what the court ordered you to pay, sir. I also understand that you've had 2 more children and you've been able to at least contribute to their support also, and you have another family, which is really my question. Your daughter graduated from high school. They took out a payment after she graduated from high school of $300, and you want the money back.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain it to me.
The support was ordered to cease on June the 14th. They took out the full month of June, and I'm just asking for the other 2 weeks that shouldn't have been taken out.
Did you ask your former wife about it?
Yes, ma'am. I sent
And
a...
what did she say to you?
She said no.
Did she say anything about graduation expenses?
No, ma'am, she did not.
If she said something to you about graduation expenses, you know, the additional money that she had for graduation, for ring, for gown, for whatever. Gown, ring?
Shoes, everything.
Would you have said,
We
sure, it's a one-shot deal?
We could have discussed it, yes, ma'am.
So why didn't you tell her?
I didn't tell him because every time I've tried to explain him, all I get back are nasty letters, and I really just didn't think he would do anything. I mean, he hadn't laid eyes on her in 2 years. So I didn't think he would do anything else.
Judge,
Yes.
I've done extra. I bought both of their children a car. That's doing something extra.
That's true.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. That wasn't within the last 2 years, and I said 2 years he hasn't laid eyes
Well,
on
what
her.
happened 2 years ago, Mr. Berger?
I got tired. I mean, I never received phone calls from him. You know, she's changed her phone number. I have tried to call, but the phone number has been changed. I don't know when. Might have been recently. I don't know. I just basically give up.
That's too bad.
Yes, ma'am.
Did your father buy you a car?
He did.
Tell me your name.
Stacy Stack.
Stacy. When did he buy your car?
2.5 years ago.
Did you thank him?
I did.
You still using the car?
No, ma'am.
What happened to it?
We went to go get it inspected, and the family friend that inspected it said that it wasn't good. It was rusted underneath, and that it could break down at any time. So we bought a new car.
How long did you use it for?
I used it for about 6 months.
Okay. So before 2 years ago, you had contact with your dad?
Not a lot. I called him, the last time that I've talked to him or seen him was I called him so I can go up there and see him, and then he said okay, and the day of, or the day before, he came by and said, no, we have to go somewhere else. And they left, and I haven't talked to him or seen him since then.
That sound familiar?
I think something came up at that time. Yes, ma'am.
Can't come up.
Ma'am?
Nothing can come up. Nothing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Ex-wife Cynthia Berger owes for the return of child support. Hayward says he overpaid by $300.
All very sad. There really is no defense to it. Money was supposed to stop, correct?
According to the papers, yes. When we went to court, Before we go in, child support enforcement speaks to me, and they told me that it would continue to the end of the month. He was still obligated to the end of the month. I said, are you sure? Yes, he's obligated to the end of the month. I said, okay. We went in, and the judge said he would stop because he wanted to stop on her graduation day. And I called child support enforcement again, told them, you know, and they said, no, he's still obligated till the end of the month. So I just, no.
You took it. The judge makes the order. The judge said it's supposed to stop on the 14th. How old are you?
18.
When were you 18?
March 13th.
And the overpayment was $302?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Berger?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to get your $302 back.
Yes, ma'am.
You might want to buy something nice for your daughter, but you're entitled to it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember, you have 4 children.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $302.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It seems like when it counts in front of the judge or whatever, she comes off as a good guy and I come off as a bad guy.
Every time he's mad at me, he hasn't seen the children. He didn't take the children. He doesn't buy them presents, and he says it's because of me.
My daughter going by my ex-wife's maiden name shows some of what's been going on, the brainwashing for the kids.
I would have liked him to start seeing us when we were little so we'd get to know him, but we're older now and we know what happened, so.
There's many, many, many trips I've made. It's a 2.5-hour drive from my house to their house to pick the children up.
He's never tried. He cares more about the money than myself and my brother.
I would like to have a relationship with my kids in Richmond and try to mend fences if possible.
Maybe it's hopefully the last thing I see of him. I haven't seen him in 2 years and it really doesn't bother me any.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Valerio versus Gunderson, step forward.
Customer service rep Summer Valerio is suing fellow dog owner, 21-year-old customer service rep Gabe Gunderson for vet bills. Summer says Gabe's pit bull attacked her dog.
Ms. Valerio, you claim that the defendant's dog injured your dog during a fight.
Yes.
And you want the defendant to pay the vet bills.
Correct.
For your dog. Mr. Gunderson says that there was a dog fight. Your dog got the worst of the fight, and your dog shouldn't have been there anyway. So you'll explain that to me. What kind of a dog do you have?
She's a Mastiff Lab mix.
That's a big dog?
Yes.
And where was the dog?
In March of 2004, I made arrangements with Janice Rawson to keep my dogs at her house because she had just bought a house, and me and my boyfriend at the time broke up, and I was moving into a condo and didn't feel it was fair to take my 2 large dogs to a condominium with me. So she agreed to keep the dogs, and I continued to pay for their food and their vet bills while they were in her care until I made new living arrangements.
Just a second. So you left your dogs with this lady
Yes.
in March. Step up. What's your name?
My name is Janice Rawson.
You have a large piece of property?
It's a house with a yard.
You have your own dogs?
No.
What kind of dogs? One was a Mastiff mix, and what was the other?
Pit bull boxer mix.
Also a big dog?
Yes.
Who else lives in your house?
At the time when I moved in, it was Jeffrey, her now husband, and Dustin.
Jeffrey, her now husband.
The
Valerio.
boyfriend I had
I'm sorry.
separated from. And then we got back together and got married. But it was a temporary separation. He was living with her with the dogs there at the time.
Oh. So not only did you place your dogs with her, but you placed your ex-boyfriend there, too.
Yes.
Now, tell me about Mr. Gunderson.
Mr. Gunderson moved in with me when Summer...
What, did you rent rooms?
Yes. I have a 4-bedroom house.
Okay, so you rented a room
Yes.
to him. Okay.
Mr. Gunderson moved in with me when Jeffrey moved in with Summer, and they got married, and then I rented a room to Gabe.
So Mr. Gunderson moved in with a...
Male pit bull.
So now you have 3 dogs in
3
your house.
dogs.
Is that the dog that injured her dog?
No, that's a separate dog.
Well, where did the separate dog come from?
We went on vacation to San Diego. We were told by
Who's
Jeffrey. Me, Janice, a different group of friends of ours. We were told by Jeffrey before we left on a certain date the dogs would be gone. We get back from San Diego. I pick up the dog who got
Picked up what dog?
The dog that's the reason why we're here, the one that attacked her dog. Or
You mean
got
a
into
second
fight with
dog? You
her.
picked
The
up a second dog.
Right. Picked that dog up. I got home, found out that Jeff and Summer did not live up to their end of the bargain as far as taking those dogs back like we were told.
Your Honor. Well, why did you need a second dog?
I asked Janice. I wanted it as a female so I can breed. I asked Janice. She said that'd be fine.
Is that right?
Yes, but the condition was that he could only get the second dog when her dogs were gone, and it wasn't an exact date of when they were going to take the dogs back. It was a hopeful date. So he should have made sure that the dogs were gone before he actually picked up the pit bull.
Well, he didn't. So on what date did you pick up the pit bull?
October 9th.
And what date was this fight that caused the injury to Miss Valerio's dog?
On the 28th, same month.
So why didn't you tell me how to get rid of the dog?
Well, I like dogs, and it's not, And the family who had the dog before couldn't keep the dog, and so it didn't really have anywhere to go back to except for the pound, and I didn't want to see that happen. So
Okay, so you allowed him to keep the dog there. Fine.
Yes.
Now tell me about the fight.
My other witness here is the one that broke up the dog fight and basically saved my dog's life.
Is that right?
Yes.
Good. Between the 9th of October and the day that this happened, did you visit your dogs?
Yes, and I actually, a couple weekends prior, had taken Justice to my house for the weekend. I would take her sometimes for 3 or 4 days at a time.
So you knew he had both dogs there?
Yes, but I did not know that that dog had a history of being aggressive. He, on the other hand, did.
Were you home when Miss Valerio's dog was injured?
No, no.
You were? Step up. Tell me your name. Miss Rushing, you may sit down.
Noelle Cook.
I'll hear you.
Okay. I was at home, and I just heard the dogs fighting in the backyard, and I went to look over the fence, and I saw the dogs, his female and kind of his male. His male kept coming in and out of the fight. They had her dog pinned on the ground and basically tearing it apart.
And I have pictures, Your Honor.
I'd like to see.
And also her vet bills and her medical records.
I'd like to see the pictures first.
If I may say, the vet did say that the only thing that saved my dog's life is the fact that she's 90 pounds. If she had been a smaller dog, the injuries would have killed her.
Mr. Gunderson, you understand, sir, that sometimes pit bulls have been known to be aggressive dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, yes.
How did you find out about the dog?
They lived actually across the street from a friend of mine. I've seen them before. Saw an ad in the paper. I called them, found out that it was the same people. So I've talked to them. I've seen the dog before, been around the dog before. It wasn't a big issue.
Did they have children?
They have one kid, yes.
And they felt that the dog was not appropriate to live with.
Well, they have 2 other dogs.
Look at me.
They have 2 other
They felt
dogs.
that the dog was not appropriate to live with them. Otherwise, what reason do you have to get rid of a dog?
Yeah, well,
If you have other dogs. It's not an allergy.
mhm.
Is that right?
Mhm.
Mr. Gunderson, pay careful attention. I'm very smart. This dog, you knew that the dog had had some problems. Is that right?
Right.
Who do you think is responsible, therefore, for a dog that has had certain problems in the past when the dog attacks again?
The owner of that dog.
That's you.
Mm-hmm.
You were aware of the dog's previous problems with the prior owner. Why you would choose to take a dog that had had problems, I don't know. And why you would choose to breed a dog that had prior problems, I for sure don't know. You have an answer to either of those questions?
I knew about the situation. I explained to Janice before I even got
I'm
the
not
dog.
talking about Janice. I'm asking you why you would choose to take a dog that had problems.
Because I had nowhere to go, so I took it.
And why, if it had nowhere else to go when you know the dog has certain character problems, why would you choose to breed a dog like that?
It's one fight. I didn't think it'd be a big deal, to be honest.
Wow.
I've
Now
been
you
around.
know better, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Now I'll see the vet bills. That was easy.
Your Honor, each page is an individual invoice. The total actually came to what I wrote on the front. And she had to be kept in the hospital for 7 days.
Do you understand, sir? We all make certain choices when we get a pet. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to choose a pet that doesn't have violent propensities. You chose a pet that you knew had had problems enough so that a prior owner was looking to get rid of it. You took it. Not only did you take it, but you made a choice, because one of the reasons that you told me you chose to take this dog is because you wanted to breed it, to propagate whatever character flaws that this dog had. That is stupid. Very stupid. It's going to cost you $2,455.50. That's all. Step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. May step out.
I was shown that I'm wrong in this, even though I had nothing to do with this.
When you choose to own a dog that has aggressive tendencies, or any animal for that matter, you're responsible for its actions.
When I came home from work, my neighbor's standing in my driveway with blood on her.
The defendant actually called me saying that his dogs were attacked.
My dog also got hurt.
She just finally healed. It's taken a month and a half.
Pit bulls have a bad name for themselves because of how their owners raise them.
I don't think the breed's bad. I think it depends on how they're raised, and if they're not socialized with other animals and people, it's gonna take its toll.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Joyce versus Morales. Step forward.
25-year-old wholesale account manager Marlena Joyce is suing her ex-roommate, 22-year-old mortgage assistant Rachel Morales, for unpaid rent and for damages she caused to their apartment. Rachel says she moved out because Marlena's boyfriend moved in.
Miss Joyce, you and a friend decided to move to San Diego, not this person, and you leased an apartment with this friend. Shortly after you leased the apartment in September, the friend decided to move home. leaving you with the apartment. You found the defendant, and she said she also needed a place to live. You agreed that she would move in practically immediately. On what date did your friend move home?
Did he move back?
Yes.
August. No exact date. I don't remember the date.
So in September, you had to come up with rent. And what date did Miss Morales move in?
First week of September?
September 7th, actually, due to the fact she had a house guest already there.
You moved in September 7th.
But she had all her stuff in before he moved.
That's why
before
I
he
paid
came
you
to
the rent
visit.
for it.
Shh, don't fight with each other.
Sorry.
Moved in September 7th, and you paid rent.
I gave her the check on September 1st because I had movers bring my belongings already.
How much did you give her?
$725 total.
And that was your agreement? And you moved out on October 7th.
My physical belongings, October 7th, yes. I stayed, after our argument, I left that night and never returned. But because my stuff was there, I felt I owed her those 2 days.
You left on October 7th.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? And she paid you for a month's rent on September 7th.
No, ma'am.
Shh. Listen to me. So far, you're not losing. You have to listen. Listen. Open up your ears. Put on your listening ears, okay? The rent was $725. You gave her $725. You gave her $725. You moved in, according to you, on September 7th because she had a house guest. You moved out on October 7th. That's what you just told me.
Yes, ma'am.
So then I'm asking you, what do you want?
On October 1st, she paid rent. We got into an argument at work because she didn't want my boyfriend at the house, at her house.
Well, at the house that she was paying rent on, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you move out?
The reason when I first moved in, we decided no boys. And I gave her the 7 first days in September for the fact she had her boyfriend from Virginia visiting. And I'm like, that's rude of me to be the third wheel. We decided no boys. Like, that was the whole thing. No spores,
You mean
no
no
nothing.
boys sleeping over?
Sleeping over. And then she meets this guy 2 weeks later on a Saturday. His physical...
Slow down.
I'm
Slow
sorry.
down.
His physical...
Slow down.
She met him on a Saturday, and he moved in on Tuesday. Physically
That's not
moved
true.
in.
Shh, don't answer her.
The reason I know this is because every day on my lunch I go home, and he was there when she wasn't there. I would go home my lunch.
So
and he was there.
the boyfriend sort of moved in.
Yes, and I physically saw him moving his stuff and doing laundry that day. And I'm like,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, was the argument that you had with her, Miss Joyce, over the boyfriend? That's what you said?
Yeah.
And she said to you, I don't want to share my house with...
And I told her, you haven't given me a penny for the deposit. Your name is not on the lease until I see anything for the deposit. This is not your house.
Okay.
You're staying.
All right, got it, Miss Joyce, I got it. Now, I'm asking you, Miss Joyce, she was there for a month. She paid you for a month. What are you suing her for?
She moved out without giving me a 30-day notice.
She doesn't have to give you a 30-day notice. You breached your agreement with her. She doesn't have to give you 30-day notice, period. You breached your agreement with her. Your agreement with her was that the two of you were going to be sharing this apartment together. You moved in a third party who was not paying rent.
No,
Next!
nobody moved in.
Next!
Nobody moved in.
Listen to me. Next. What are you suing her for?
Damages her dog did to my carpet.
Well, did you have a dog?
Yes, I did.
Did you have a dog?
Yeah, she's in dog care, though.
Just a second. You had a dog and she had a dog. So what you're talking about is some dog peeing on the carpet. Is that right? You have scientific proof to establish to my satisfaction, Miss Joyce, that it was her dog and not your dog?
We both know it was her dog.
Well, she doesn't know that.
I know. She knows. She would have me run inside before guys would come to the house to clean up her dog's poop. So when she brought the guy inside, the house would be clean. My dog stays in a cage, and he has his puppy pads.
Miss Joyce, grow up. It didn't work out. You did the wrong thing. You don't bring a third person into the house and say to your roommate, suck it up. You don't do that, because what you did was say, suck it up. You didn't pay your deposit, therefore, and you're not on the lease, so you can't tell me you would have in my house. She's already paid you $725 for the privilege of being able to say who she wants in her home. Do you understand that? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If she had a problem with my boyfriend staying at the house, she should have told me, which she never told me until we got into a little argument.
You can't meet someone on Saturday and move him in on Tuesday and expect that to be okay with me.
She was jealous that I had a boyfriend.
He moved in, and she just wants to deny that.
And then she just didn't like it.
I'm never having a roommate again, at least a female one.
Provider clerk Lisa Gaviola is suing her former friend, drug and alcohol counselor Rhonda Turner, for damages to her rental car. Rhonda says the car was stolen, so she's not responsible.
Yeah, this is case number 362 on the calendar, the matter of Gaviola versus Turner. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Gaviola, the defendant was a friend of yours?
Yes.
And the two of you decided to go on a road trip for something, for business? Was it?
We were invited to a music festival in Hollywood.
And where were you coming from?
Sacramento.
You rented a car, and when you got to Hollywood, you loaned the defendant the car.
Correct.
It is your claim that she wrecked the car and you are being held responsible by the rental car company. Ms. Turner says she did not wreck the car. She was using the car was stolen, and somebody else wrecked it. So it's not her responsibility. That's your defense.
Yes.
You hesitated. That's what I read. Is that wrong?
No.
Okay. When were you going to the festival?
It was Friday, July 9th. I left from Sacramento around 7.
When did you rent the car?
5:30 that afternoon.
From whom?
Enterprise.
And when you arrived in Hollywood, what did you do with the car?
I lent the car to Rhonda.
Okay. You got the car on the 9th of July?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened?
Actually, what happened was we drove from Sacramento
Look
to
at me, not the floor.
We drove from Sacramento to Los Angeles, and
Who did the driving?
The plaintiff.
Go ahead.
And we arrived in Los Angeles, and we went to her boyfriend's house. And from that point, I had taken the car and went home. And we were to meet up the next day.
Went home to where?
To my mom's house, actually, in Los Angeles.
Don't make things up as you're going along, because I'm going to come back to everything that you tell me.
Okay.
And, you know, the only reason you have to have a good memory is if you tell lies. If you tell the truth, you don't need a really good memory, because you can tell the same story over and over again, and it's the truth. Do you understand, Ms. Turner?
Yes, I do.
All right. So you dropped her off, you took the car, you went to your mother's house. Is that the last time you saw the car?
No.
When did you use the car again?
The next day when it was time to go to the so-called festival.
Did you go to the festival together?
No, we met there.
And you were driving the car?
Yes.
When you left, did you drive by yourself?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To a family barbecue.
Where?
In Inglewood, California.
And did you drive back to your mother's house?
No, not at that point.
When did you drive back?
I didn't drive back to my mom's house from that point. We were at the barbecue, and that's where the car was stolen from.
When did you find out the car was stolen?
Sometime during the day when I got ready to go, went outside and the car was not there.
What time?
Between 7 and 8.
May I see the police report, please, where you called the police and told them that the car was stolen?
I didn't make a police report.
Why not?
Well, I figured the car wasn't in my name, and I figured I needed to get in touch with the plaintiff so the plaintiff could make the appropriate report on the car.
When did you call her?
I called her that same night.
What time?
Somewhere between 8 and 9.
Is that right?
We received a voicemail message on Jimmy's phone around maybe 10.
Who got the message?
He originally received the message.
Jimmy, what's your last name?
Placencia.
You received the message. What did the message say?
The first message I received from Rhonda was that she left a message saying she had wrecked the car. The car was in an accident.
That's not true.
Shh. That's the first message.
Correct.
And the second message?
We had communicated several times during that evening. I called her back and she left a voicemail. And
did you speak to her when you called back?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I asked her about the vehicle and what had happened, and she had told me that she had gotten into a car accident, and I asked her about the accident. She said that she had hit somebody, and I asked her, did she exchange information, and there was no information exchanged.
And then the story changed?
And then the story had changed, and then she had tried to talk me or talk us into reporting the car that Lisa was originally the driver. She did not want to take responsibility for the accident. And when I started explaining to her that that would not be appropriate, then her story changed. She didn't want to talk, and we hung up, and then we tried to reach her again, and were not able to get in touch with her.
That isn't true. I called them several times during the night. They did not return my phone calls.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
I read your answer very carefully, and you say that the car was stolen. My friends and family searched the neighborhood for the car, and finally a friend called and said that they had found the car, but it was wrecked. Where's the friend?
They're not here.
What's the friend's name?
Adrian.
So Adrian found the car wrecked, came back and told you that. Is that what you're telling me?
Adrian didn't find the car herself. Her boyfriend found the car.
Yes.
I got the call initially from her stating what had happened. That was the next day.
So it's different from what you wrote in your answer.
No, my answer says that we looked for the car after we found out the car was stolen.
No, you can't, Steve. Finally, a friend called and said they had found the car and it was wrecked.
That was the next day.
All right. How much is Enterprise charging you for the car?
$3,780.96.
You have a contract with Enterprise?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Now, you went into a contract with these people in which you guaranteed to them that there would be no other driver driving this car.
Yes.
You had no right to give her the car to drive.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes.
Because if you had put down her name, which you could do, and her driver's license, they would have said, now you're covered if you accepted insurance. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's why you're being charged this $3,780.
Yes.
So I have to find some sort of a reasonable balance between your wrongdoing and her wrongdoing, because I find, madam, that your story is a crock of baloney. The car wasn't cared for properly while it was in your possession. You have to accept responsibility for that. You have to accept responsibility. You're not supposed to slough off responsibility. Neither are you. You did the wrong thing. But for the fact that you did the wrong thing, she wouldn't have been in a position to wreck your car that you are now being held responsible for. Do you have a car at home?
Do I have a car?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have insurance?
Yes.
Well, if you had insurance, the insurance would cover this if you were permitted to drive the car. Do you know that?
Yes. When she rented the car, she called me and said, do I need to get insurance on the car? And I said, yes, it would be the appropriate thing to do.
Your Honor, she had assured me at the time when I had given her keys that she would be extremely careful and that she would be responsible for any damages to the car because she had full coverage insurance.
I don't believe she said that to you. I don't believe she said that to you at all. In any event, I think you're each responsible for half of the damage to this car and half of what you're being charged for. 50%. 50% for doing the wrong thing, 50% for having an accident and not coming clean. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of half, $1,890. That's all. The rest you're responsible for.
Why did I excuse? You may step out.
I'm glad that both of us were able to take responsibility of the car.
I'm not going to say that I was liable for the car because I didn't wreck the car.
I'm really just glad that it's over.
I think it was a fair decision.
It's been very challenging.
We got insurance for the car. Had she told the story the way it should have went, she would have been covered.
Really don't want to speak anymore.
If you're going to be honest all the way.
We're no longer friends.
Don't tell half truth.
I think it's about being selective of the people that are in your life.
Brian Martin is suing his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, for personal property.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2063, Martin versus Hancock Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, how old are you, sir?
I'm 46.
Who is this with you?
This is my girlfriend, Kimberly.
Case is not unusual, but sad. Mr. Martin, you had a long history of drug addiction.
I did.
From when to when?
From 2002 until December 1st, 2020. I've been clean for 2 years on the 1st of December.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Did you manage to get clean by going into a residential facility?
I did, yes.
How long were you in a residential facility?
I was in 23 days in an inpatient facility, and I was just over a month in an outpatient facility.
Are you currently working?
I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a production manager for a soap and bath bomb company.
How long have you been working for them?
A year yesterday.
Are you in touch with your folks?
I am.
Back in their good graces?
Yes, ma'am.
There was a time when that wasn't true.
Correct.
This is what I gather this case is about. Miss Hancock was your girlfriend.
Yes.
For how long?
We dated from November 2019 until April 2020. We separated for a few months and got back together in July 2020 and separated again in September 2020, so 7 months.
And it would be a fair statement, sir, that the reasons that you separated on both instances is because you relapsed into using drugs.
Yes.
And it would also be a fair statement that the first time you left the house at the defendant's request, you were unsuccessful permanently from ridding yourself of addiction, but you thought you were okay and you asked her to take you back.
Yes.
And she did.
Yes.
And you would have to acknowledge to me that made her, A, a forgiving person.
Very.
And someone who cared about you.
Yes.
I say all that to you because it's not my job today to exacerbate what appears to be a strained situation, which I assume from your papers has resulted in a final protective order in favor of Miss Hancock, keeping you away from her for how many years?
Permanently.
Forever.
Yes.
And that was after a criminal case was resolved, and that was a criminal stalking case.
Yes.
That was resolved, and it was resolved in her favor probably, and I don't know this for certain, probably with a plea from you.
Yes.
And when you enter a plea, the judge always asks you, you understand your right to have a trial, you have a right to examine witnesses, you have a right to call witnesses, and by making this admission, it is the same thing as a guilty verdict.
Correct.
Judge did tell you that?
Yes.
I assume. I mean, I remember making those statements many, many times a long, long time ago. I'm surprised I still remember any of it. And you're supposed to remain away from her.
Yes.
So the first question I have, well, I know why you're here. You're here because you say the last time she threw you out, and she threw you out not only because she found drugs that you were using again, but she had a fear that you were selling drugs out of the house, and she couldn't be involved with that, which is perfectly legitimate. You would have to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
You'd also acknowledge, and I'm reading these papers sort of between the lines, your complaint, her answer, and the countersuit, that Miss Hancock had a child.
Yes.
A son.
Yes.
How old? When you were
15
living?
at the time.
And uber impressionable age, and the fact that you were abusing drugs in the house, it really exposed him to something that a teenager shouldn't be exposed to, because his mother has feelings for that person who's drug addicted.
Yes.
And I assume you had warm feelings at some point for this 15-year-old.
Absolutely.
At the time, your parents had asked you to leave the house.
I was living with my parents at the time. Jennifer asked me to move into the house because Mr. Jones had placed a GPS tracker on her car, and she was concerned about her safety with him.
So you were dating at the time?
Yes, I was living with my parents before I moved in, yes.
Okay. Was that a happy situation?
At the time it was, yes. It didn't get difficult to
Moved away from that. And when you moved in with Miss Hancock, according to you, you were not paying rent.
Correct.
You were, in fact, working.
I was.
And according to you, you were working, not paying rent, and buying certain things for the house in lieu of rent. That's what you say in your papers.
Yes, I bought things for the house. Yes.
Those were exactly the words that you swore to. You said, I also spent over $10,000 on things for her place.
Correct.
In lieu of paying to live there.
Correct.
What things did you buy?
I bought a dryer.
Dryer?
I put $1,200 into her son's Ford, fixing it. I bought...
Okay, so you paid for some things for her son. What else did you buy for the house?
We went to Costco several times and spent $1,000.
Okay, so you
towels.
went... Just a second. Yeah. I'm not interested in Costco several times. Yeah. You know, you do use toilet paper, don't you?
Absolutely.
What else did you buy for the household?
I bought a battery for a Ford car. I bought a Keurig. I bought a rug, towels. I paid for the vacations while we were together. I bought some home lights for the outside.
Come on, keep going. What else did you buy?
And
what else did you buy for the house? So far, we're not close to $10,000.
That's all.
Well, you swore to the fact that you spent $10,000, that you bought things for the house in lieu of rent. So far, you've given me maybe $2,500.
Okay.
And that includes a couple of trips to Costco. So I want to know, what else did you buy for the house? Did you buy televisions for the house?
I bought televisions.
Just a second. How many televisions did you buy?
I bought two.
And how much were they?
One was $1,700, the other one was $500.
What else did you buy for the house?
Those are the only items I remember buying for the house.
Great. Now, what items do you claim that, because that's what this is about so far, what items do you claim that Miss Hancock kept that belonged to you when she told you to leave the second time?
I have text messages saying...
No, don't tell me text. I don't want to hear text messages. I want to hear what items you claim are your property that she kept when she told you to leave the second time. That requires things: a fishbowl, a guppy, a pair of shoes, a tie. And if you say any of those things, I'm going to throw you out of here because I don't waste my time over guppies.
Yeah.
So tell me what you are alleging that she kept.
2 TVs.
Okay.
An entertainment center.
Just a second. You didn't tell me an entertainment. You told me you bought 2 TVs, $1,700 and $500. That would fit into the $10,000 of what you spent in the house. Entertainment center. What did you pay for the entertainment center?
Originally, I paid $1,200.
What else?
I'm also asking for the return of a rehab center that she was kicked me out of, $2,500.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Keep going.
Okay. And then 47 Nintendo 64 games.
47 what?
Nintendo 64 games.
So, Mr. Martin, because I'm going to make short shrift of this case, as you can see right now, and your girlfriend looks like a nice lady, I don't know why you're here. You seem to have problems with boyfriends. You got to start picking them better.
I do.
This one put a tracker on you. This one, you have a protective order permanently. You have to figure these things out before ultimately you get very hurt.
Brian Martin claims his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, owe for personal property. Jennifer and Derek are countersuing for harassment.
Okay, so far, all the things that you told me that you bought for the house barely add up to the $10,000 that you swore that you purchased for things for the house in lieu of paying rent. Do you understand?
I do. If I may also add, when we were separated the first time, I sold my marital home for $47,000. I cashed it at my bank and I put it into an account with her that I was an authorized user on. I did not get that money back because she removed my name from the account. So that money also went to purchase things while we were together that were for the house. I don't remember specifically what we bought. It was close to $20,000 that wasn't returned.
But Mr. Martin, I can understand that. But you know, this is a court.
Okay.
This is not a guessing game. This is not a game show. If you're saying that because of whatever reason you put your money into an account that she had access to and you spent money together on the house from that account, I can't help you with that.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I do.
I mean, it was a time that was a fog. Did Miss Hancock and or Mr. Jones ever return any property to you or to your parents' house?
They did on November 20th.
That was in 2021?
Yes.
What month in 2021 did they return things to your parents' house?
It was November 20th to the 21st during the night.
Were you present?
I was not. I did not live there.
So I would assume that you found out that that property was delivered to your parents' house from either Miss Hancock or your parents.
My parents.
And your parents aren't here today.
They are not.
Your girlfriend was not there when they were delivered.
I have signed affidavits from them.
From whom?
From my parents about the property.
Are your parents in any way disabled, or are either one of them in the military?
No, my father was in the military, no longer.
Well, that's the only reason you don't come in person to court if you're disabled, and I might accept an affidavit, or if you're unable to come to court by virtue of the fact that you're in the military. None of those things apply here, so I'm not taking any information that you have in an affidavit. Suffice it to say that they did, over a 2-day period, return a lot of property to your parents' house.
Yes.
And that, based upon my rough guesstimates, because you can't help me out anymore with that, that you swore in your complaint, Mr. Martin, that you spent in lieu of rent $10,000
Yes.
in the home.
Yes.
And that was specifically because you weren't paying any of the household expenses. Yes. And all of the things that you added up to me, I don't know what 47 video games are, but I assumed that the 15-year-old played them more than you did. She says they were gifted to him. I don't know whether they were or they weren't. Certainly, if you want them back. Do you still have any of the video games?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you want the video games, sir, or do you want to leave them where they are?
I would like them.
You would like them?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Hancock, I'm going to make this as easy as possible. I would like you, not the boyfriend, I would like you to pack up those video games. And do you live in the same town, area, whatever?
Close enough.
Is there a police precinct where you can drop them off?
Yes.
Do you know what precinct number that is?
I don't know the number, but I'm happy to drop them off at Bountiful City Police Department.
Got it?
Yep.
Within 5 days from today, package up the videos that you have.
No problem.
You know, if any of them are damaged, I don't want to hear from you. We're talking about a year ago, a 15-year-old has played with them, whatever. She's going to give you back your video, your 47 video games. Okay?
Okay.
Take a breath. You have to say it's over. Tell me about your new girlfriend. Are you living together?
We are, yeah. She's great. I love her.
She's great?
She's amazing.
And you're fine?
Yeah.
And you're working?
Mm-hmm.
You have to put a period to this.
Yes.
A real period.
I know.
Okay. Ms. Hancock, you and are you currently together, or is this an ex-boyfriend?
Ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend. Well, you seem to have problems with boyfriends. You got to start picking them better.
I do.
This one put a tracker on you. This one, you have a protective order permanently. You have to figure these things out before ultimately you get very hurt.
Absolutely.
Okay. I read not only your answer, and I've resolved Mr. Martin's claim. He is going to get all of his videos back. You know that Ms. Hancock and Mr. Jones have a cross-claim for harassment.
I do.
And that was not made part of the criminal case, any restitution.
No.
It was not. Did the district attorney request any restitution?
No.
Why not?
I was actually not involved. It was a criminal case, not a civil.
Well, you were the complainant in the criminal case.
The state of Utah is the one who filed it.
But you were the complainant. They may have filed it.
It actually says right here, state of Utah is the plaintiff.
Of course.
So,
I know that
I did contact the police and ask them to do
So
that.
you were the complainant.
Okay, yes.
You know, it's the state of New York versus John Jones. It's the state of Utah versus John Jones, but there has to be a complainant.
Yes.
Somebody who was robbed, somebody who was the victim of stalking, somebody who was the victim of an assault. That's the complainant. That's who you were.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Did you ever ask the district attorney for compensation for lost wages or anything else that you suffered as a result of this stalking?
No, I was not aware I could actually do that.
Okay, well, that's not something that I consider, but there is part of your counterclaim that is particularly troubling to me. And it is your claim on the counterclaim that Mr. Martin, at some point, photoshopped pornographic pictures of you.
Yes.
And disseminated them.
Yes.
When did that happen?
It was left on Derek's car. And I'm not sure when, because Derek found it and didn't tell me about it for a while because he was upset and he didn't want to upset me about it.
When did you find it, Mr. Jones?
That would have been after this first bogus stalking injunction he filed and lost.
Bogus?
He filed a fraudulent stalking injunction. He filed
Stalking?
Against me.
So it was after that?
Mm-hmm.
And that was May of 2021? I'm trying to tell Mr. Martin, and I don't know how to make it any more clear to him, that his path going forward has to be putting a period, that in this whole scenario, you were the culprit.
I did not do what they're claiming right there. Absolutely, 100%. I did not.
You did not?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Let us assume, Mr. Jones, that you found on your car a pornographic picture that had been photoshopped with Miss Hancock's face and someone else's body. I'm assuming for a moment that that's true. Not that I have to look at it. I assume for the moment that's true. What proof do you have that Mr. Martin put that on your car?
Well, the problem is I don't have any proof of that, but he had put other signs up. I have a police report. He was hanging signs on my property. He got arrested for doing that and tased.
Okay.
I mean...
But I'm asking you specifically, that's what I'm particularly concerned about.
We couldn't prove it was him. We couldn't prove it was him.
Okay, fine. Do you have a new boyfriend?
No, I do not.
In what month was the protective order made final?
May of 2022.
Other than this experience, what happened?
Oh, there's a fly.
There's a fly. Oh, Mr. Jones, I'm expert at flies. Let's not come here. You have an attitude, and you're not a baby. I mean, it's not as if you're 21 years old anymore. And if you have that within you, to have bad behavior against another person, that's there. Either you have it or you don't.
Brian Martin has accused his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, of keeping his personal property. Jennifer and Derek are countersuing, claiming Brian was harassing them.
Okay. Other than today's appearance, since that was issued in May of 2022, have you had any other contact with Mr. Martin?
No.
Have you?
Yes.
Tell me when.
5/7/2021, we called the police.
No. Pay careful attention to my question, Mr. Jones. Between May of 2022 and today, have you had any contact with Mr. Martin?
Just his files, his claims. He keeps filing protective orders against me.
When was the last time he filed a protective order against you?
Well, he tried filing one a week before this, and I have that.
A week before what?
Before this case.
Okay.
And I have that police report. They told him no.
Okay. So they didn't allow him to file it?
That one. But he's filed several others.
I'm talking about between May...
Nope, that's the last one.
That was the last one. I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Mr. Jones, do you have a protective order? in your favor?
I've tried.
Not tried.
No, I don't.
You do not. Okay.
Your Honor, I have a video of catching him stalking my house, hanging signs. We submitted that. We also have the police report that he was arrested that day and tased.
And tased?
Yep. I have that report right here as well.
I'd like to see it. Mr. Jones, I'm going to go back to just May of 2020. Since May of 2020, have you had any contact with him? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
When?
He's submitted letters to my family. He has emailed me.
I'd like to see the letters he submitted to your family.
These are some. He said, oh, there's more. These were cease and desist
Just
letters.
1 second. Just 1 second. What's this?
Mr. Jones texted me a text that says tweaker, and that's who I...
Just, dear Miss Jones, who did you send this to?
I'm not aware of the letter. May I see it?
He took it to my rental.
What are you giving me?
These are letters he submitted to my houses or my rentals when he was trying to find me to
just a second.
This was in relation. Mr. Jones had a temporary stalking injunction in place against him on February 7th, 2021. On May 5th, 2021, he was served that stalking injunction, and that is when the incident with the Bountiful Police took place that you're reading right now.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up to where I was getting my oil change. In addition to that, he has sent Facebook messages to my girlfriend that she's here to testify on.
I'm going to tell you that you see how calm you are? Not him. You understand that? Not him. Probably not him, but definitely not him. And I'm going to just suggest to both of you that neither one of you want any other legal action. You already have a lifetime protective order issued against you in favor of Ms. Hancock. Yes. So I'm just telling you, I'd stay as far away from him, Mr. Martin, as I possibly could. Go a mile out of your way rather than go anywhere near where he is.
That's
fine.
That's what I'm doing
now.
Now,
Mr. Jones, you have, and I've been around here for a long time, these kinds of buildings for a long time, you have an attitude. I can tell you have an attitude. And things may have been bad historically, but you know your behavior wasn't perfect historically. You would agree with that with Ms. Hancock, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
You would agree with that. Okay. And you're not a baby. I mean, it's not as if you're 21 years old anymore. And if you have that within you to have bad behavior against another person, that's there. Either you have it or you don't. And what I'm suggesting to you is that this is not going to be a good outcome if this animus continues. She's not your girlfriend anymore. He's got a new girlfriend. You don't have anything to do with him anymore. Nothing. If you have to travel a mile out of your way to avoid going anywhere where he gets lunch, coffee, a Jiffy Lube, or anything else, I would suggest that you do it.
I've done that. He keeps filing protective orders.
Good. Well, he can do that. So can you. And what I'm suggesting is that it's not... Don't add fuel to this fire, madam. It's my job to try to temper it. If what you're going to do is to add fuel to this fire... I won't. Then I think that it's really not a smart idea.
Just gonna, yeah.
The plaintiff will get his 47 videos back within 5 days. They will be dropped off at the local police precinct. What?
May I actually say there's only 21 that was ever given, so there's not 47.
How many do you have?
We have 19 of those games.
Okay, 19.
Yes.
You have any other property that belongs to him?
No.
No. Okay, we're done here. 19. 5 days. Police precinct.
This court is adjourned.
I'm disappointed because I've dealt with this man for over 2 years.
He's just jealous of my awesomeness.
I've moved on with my life. I have a new girlfriend, and I just want my things back.
Whatever. I just want him out of my life.
It's time to close the chapter. It's time to move on.
I never want to see him again. I never want to hear from him again.
People spend so much time with negative energy.
Oh, yes.
Sarah, if the one thing that you and all other single people out there can take away from this case is that women are supposed to be smart. And clearly, she had a nose for bad boys.
Yeah.
Because according to what we heard, the reason she invited him to come and live with her was because the
different problem with a different
co-defendant, right, co-defendant, Mr. Jones, was really stalking her.
Mm-hmm.
And the same problem she had with the plaintiff. But stalking is an odd one. You have to be a little bit off to engage in stalking, to really terrorize somebody.
Especially to the level of legal action for stalking.
Yeah.
Because I know the standard for getting a restraining order, even a temporary one, is very high, the standard.
There has to be some pretty serious stuff that the judge reads. And he pled guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Jones also acknowledged that he had not treated her well. So it's always sad to me when perfectly reasonable women, sometimes because of their need to nest, will choose subpar mates.
I think it's more important to hold on to your own energy than to allow it to seep into these negative wells that will just run you dry.
You're absolutely right. Just remember it.
I'll try.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Princess Davis is suing photographer Tavares Long for breaking their photo shoot agreement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2013, Davis versus Long.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Davis, what do you do for a living?
I'm a language interpreter.
For whom?
For hospitals or law offices.
Is it your own business?
Yes.
What languages do you speak?
Spanish and Portuguese.
Tell me how you met Mr. Long, who was a photographer.
I met Mr. Long as part of a social cycling group that I'm a part of. And so they have weekly cycling rides, and he's always there, and I'm usually there too.
So according to what I read in your complaint, you got to chatting with Mr. Long, and sometime in October of 2021, so not quite a year ago, the two of you discussed him taking photographs of you to be used on his website, on his business website. That's a photography website, sir?
Yeah, but we didn't discuss, we just discussed doing a photo shoot together. Yeah.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Don't say no unless,
Yeah, I mean.
I already live with people who say no just to say no. You discussed taking photographs of her for your website, doing a photo shoot, and in exchange for that, she would get a free copy of the photographs. That's what you discussed?
Yes.
That a fair statement?
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
Of some of the photos, yes.
I don't think that you said some of the photos. You said, you sit for a photo shoot for me, that I can use the pictures on my website.
That's not what.
Well, are you in the business of photography?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that how you make your living?
Yes, ma'am.
People paying you to take pictures of their wedding, communion, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Right? Mm-hmm. Anything else? Birthday parties. And in order to do that, you have to show off your best work.
Yes.
And if you ask a model to do that, so that you could use a model, just as you get paid for your work, so would the model.
Right.
So what you did with her was barter. You bartered her time in sitting for a shoot for her to get something in return, which were copies of the photographs. That doesn't mean that she owns them. You were free to use them on your webpage, on your business webpage. Am I outlining your case?
Yes, more or less.
Okay, so now I will summarize what the case is about. According to what I've read, the two of you looked at the photographs and you picked out about 30 that you liked, according to somebody. He got you the 30 pictures, but then you saw a picture, don't shake it, you saw a picture that you didn't have that was posted on his website, that he hadn't given you.
Well, he hadn't given me any of the pictures. I was able to view some.
With 30 photographs downloaded so that you could see them on your computer.
No, he sent me a Google Drive link for 29 photos.
Okay.
That I couldn't download. I could only view.
Okay. Did you tell him that you couldn't download them?
Yes.
Did he repair that?
No.
So now you want to be compensated to the tune of $2,500 for using your pictures on social media. That's what you asked for in your case.
Yes, for using them to promote his business.
That's okay. Well, you knew he was going.
I did.
Okay, Ms. Davis, you knew that he was going to use the photographs to promote his business. That was your contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your contract. Your complaint is that he did not fulfill his entire end of the bargain by getting you copies of all the pictures.
Yes.
Okay. And you have a nonsense counterclaim, Mr. Long, because you want money for compensation for a photo shoot. That was never...
No. Well, what I want money for is a nonsense counterclaim for a nonsense suit.
No.
What I want money for is if she wants me, because she actually, I want you to take down every photo and delete everything you have. Well, if you want to, that means if you want to own the rights to the photos, this is what it's going to cost you.
You've not, just a second. She doesn't want all the rights to the photos. She can't.
That's what she called me saying.
Okay. But she can't modify the agreement.
Agree.
If I find, which seems absolutely logical, and I don't know why you just wouldn't do it, give her the photographs, which you bargained for, so that she got copies of them in exchange for you using them on social media. That seems to be perfectly simple, Mr. Long. Did she ever notify you that she couldn't download the 29?
You know when she notified me? So in May of this year, which is Women's History Month, I was daily, I post some photos of women I took photos of and just kind of like honor them for Women's History Month. So on like May 5th, with 5th day of Women's History Month, I posted.
Slow down.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. So I posted 3 photos of her to say, hey, I want to honor, a friend of mine. It's Women's History Month, just kind of I thought I was doing a nice thing. So then she calls me. I was picking my daughter from school. Well, she emailed me. I don't know if she emailed me
Does
first.
this have something really important to do with this case?
Yes.
Oh, well, get there, please.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not interested in picking your daughter up from school.
But you asked me when did she notify me. So 5 months later, she notified me in May. The photo shoot was in November.
So
but you asked me when did she notify me? She told me this right as all of this, as she wanted to start an argument.
Mr. Long,
yes,
you
ma'am.
can talk from today till tomorrow.
I know, I'm long-winded.
What the agreement
yes, ma'am.
is clear. She sat for you. How long was the photo shoot? Don't look at me. How long was the photo shoot?
Almost 5 hours.
How long was the photo shoot, Mr. Long?
No, it's about about 3 hours. About 3 hours.
Okay, so anywhere between 3 and 5 hours.
Ma'am.
Anywhere between 3 and 5 hours.
Well, it definitely wasn't 5.
She said
it was wintertime, so it got dark early. We were outside at Cascade Nature Preserve. So
I'm getting so bored.
I know,
with
I'm
you.
sorry. But yeah.
Anywhere between 3 and 5 hours. And if you shot 100 pictures during that time?
Oh, no, much more. So
how many pictures did you shoot?
Probably 300-400. I mean, it was a lot.
Not so.
No, yeah, well, because this is important. So what happened is that we did a lot of motion shots. So which means that I put the camera in high continuous shutter mode. So while she's moving, I'm capturing I'm just taking photos, right? And then we choosing out of which motion that looked best.
No, just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to send her the copies of the photographs that you took.
That was an agreement, Your Honor. Because why would I send you every photo and I'm going to have work out there with my name on it, that something, because you blinked and we moving. We taking action shots.
Just a second. Do you think, hey.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that this woman is going to put out a photograph anywhere that looks terrible of her?
Yeah, see,
that would be
right.
That would be ridiculous.
See, we have a difference in opinion, right? She may think this is a nice one, and as a photographer, I'm like, and another photographer sees it, they're like, this is kind of garbage, right? And so I'm never going to give somebody something that I wouldn't approve of myself.
Oh yes.
Ever.
Well, what I'm telling you, Mr. Long, was that was not your agreement.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to, in 30 seconds, you commiserating with each other from this cycle group, whatever it was, and I want you to tell me your memory of the discussion with the plaintiff about the photographs, about her sitting for you for a photo shoot. Then I'm going to hear hers. Quickly, what is your memory of the initial discussion that you had with her over her sitting for a photo shoot? Don't make things up. No, Mr. Long, then just tell me.
This is factual.
Then just tell me.
Yes. So we were at a social gathering. It was a holiday party for one of the groups that we are part of, right? So we were at this bar called Handlebar in Atlanta, and we were talking, and I was doing some shooting inside of the party, right? And she says, hey, we ought to shoot together sometime.
That's not true.
Just a second.
Yes,
you're going to have a chance. Don't interrupt him. Just keep going. And you understand,
yes,
I know the difference between rain and someone peeing on my leg.
Right.
I just know the difference.
I've never peed on
Okay. Let's move on.
right? And so we were at this at Hamilton.
So you were at a party. Hey, you're taking pictures, and she said to you, "Hey, come on, let's go."
Yes. Hey, we should do a shoot together sometime.
Okay.
And I was like, that would be cool.
Okay.
Right? And then so she reached out to me. So the Braves won the World Series last year. She reached out to me a little before the Braves won the World Series and said, hey, would this day be good? And I was like, well, it's going to be kind of cold. This is going to be going on. So the day that the World Series parade was, which was November 3rd. Right, November 3rd is the day that we shot because after the Braves, I went and met her.
Just a second. Do you have any idea how disinterested I am in these facts?
I know, but
okay, Mr. Long, yes. Before she got there, you had an arrangement, and if you can't tell it to me in a cogent way, I'm going to ask her, and I'm going to believe her. Do you understand?
I do.
Princess Davis claims photographer Tavares Long broke their photo shoot agreement. Tavares is countersuing, saying Princess owes him for the rights to the pictures.
Okay, you're at a bar,
Yes.
you're taking some pictures.
Yes.
You're taking some pictures. She comes over to you. She said, how about a photo shoot? You say, fine.
Yes.
I'm looking for your version of the contract.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So just give it to me. I don't care who was playing baseball. I don't care who was in the finals. It means nothing to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Just tell me the contract that you had with her. There had to be a contract.
Well, other than us verbally, there was no written contract.
That doesn't have to be a written
so you
contract.
want just what we verbally said? Yes. So then after that, we agreed to meet up, right? And then once we finished shooting, because we never discussed how many photos were going to be sent, right? Until we actually looked at the photos together, Your Honor. We looked at the photos. She said, "Oh no, I don't like this one because there's something."
Just a second. You looked at the photos on the date of the shoot?
No. Well,
when?
She looked at some of them on the camera, but not every photo on the camera. But
when did you look?
Oh, I sent it to her on November 6th. I emailed her. So November 3rd is when we shot. November 6th is when I sent her the photos.
How many did you send her?
29.
Okay, but you didn't send her all of them.
No, because that was an agreement.
Well, I didn't hear the agreement. I didn't hear anything about an agreement.
We didn't have a specific number.
I didn't hear anything about an agreement.
That wasn't
okay, good. Now you have to be quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me your version. Make sure that I get exactly the case.
Okay. On October 15th, we were both at a holiday event from one of our social groups, and he actually came up to me. And he was like, "You're beautiful. I would love to shoot you. I'm trying to build up my photography practice." And I was like, "Okay, what do you want to do? Like a, barter thing where I get a copy of all the pictures and you can use them to promote." And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "We can talk about it this week."
Oh, so what he said to us, "Yeah, we can talk about it this week."
Mm-hmm. And we had another phone call.
Keep going.
To solidify that I would get a copy.
No. Don't say solidify. Solidify is a conclusion.
Okay.
What I want you to tell me is after that meeting, you had another conversation.
Yes.
Did you call him or did he call you?
I called him.
Yes.
And I said, "Okay, so I know you had talked about the shoot. Like, what were you interested in doing? I know you talked about the barter." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm building up my practice. I would love to shoot you." And I asked him, I said, "Okay, so I'm going to get a copy of all the pictures, right?" "Yeah, you'll get a copy of all the pictures."
God.
I asked him then, I said, "Do you have a makeup artist?" Because I've done this agreement before with other photographers.
I would like you to be quiet.
Agreement.
Hey.
Okay.
I would like you to be quiet.
I will.
This is a pretty standard agreement with
No.
models. Okay, I'll go back to it.
I'm not interested in that or the Atlanta Braves.
Yes. So basically what it was is I would get a copy of all the pictures. I would also do...
I don't want to hear basically. I want to hear what you said to him and what he said to you. I don't want to hear anything else.
I said...
So now you're shocked.
And I will get a copy of all the pictures.
Just to see, keep saying it again. I heard you the first time that you would sit and you would get a copy of the pictures.
Yes.
And he said, yeah.
Yes.
As I can imagine him saying to you.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I didn't.
You get an A for annoying. Which is not where you want to be here.
It's not.
Because this is really a very, very simple situation.
Yes.
Really simple. Of the pictures that you took of her, be very careful because she has it. Of the pictures, the 29 pictures that you sent to her, did those 29 pictures contain all of the pictures that you ever put up on your website? Or did you use any of the other pictures that you took from the photo shoot on your website?
Do you understand my question, Mr. Long?
I do.
Did you use any photos other than the 29? That's either a yes or a no.
She told me yes, there's one.
Just a second. Not she told me.
That's what she told me. Well,
Mr. Long,
yeah.
not she told me. When you had a conversation with her subsequently and she said to you, I saw you put a picture up on your website. It wasn't one of the ones you sent to me. A normal person who is a photographer, who is now having a dispute, would go back to the photographs and see which picture she was talking about and look to see the 29 pictures that you sent, and you would said, yes, it was one of the 29 pictures that I sent to you. My question is a simple one. Were any pictures that were not turned over to her ever used on your website?
So I want to be honest with you, right? So
no, that's either a yes or a no.
Right. Well, this is the thing. So
no, there's no thing.
Conversation that she's
Mr. Long, Mr. Long, there's no thing.
Yeah.
There's no thing to my question.
All right.
There's either a yes or a no. Were any photographs other than the 29 you sent her ever put up on your website?
Not to my recollection, because...
Okay, just a sec. So the answer is not to your recollection. Now I'll come back to you, Miss Davis. You did receive viewing copies of 29 photographs.
Viewing only copies, yes. Not copies, but access to a file, yes.
Okay, and there came a time when, according to you, you saw a picture on his website that was not a picture that you had a viewing copy of.
Yes.
Do you have that?
Yes. Give me 1 second. Where's mine?
And then the communication with him, if you have any communication about that photograph. Is this all clear to you, Whitney, this case? Is this clear to you? Is there anything that needs clearing up?
Okay, that
is
pretty clear. Message. This one was the specific one that I didn't recognize. I had seen.
No, I don't want to know that you recognized it. I want a picture that was not within the 29 photographs that he sent to you, and then any communication with him that you have via text message.
That's the text message.
That's a lovely photograph.
Thank you.
Yeah, she got it free.
Text messages. You can also... Oh.
Happy Monday sent you all the photos you liked back when we took them. Okay. So what she's saying to you here is that she feels very uncomfortable about you having pictures of her that she doesn't have copies of and having them accessible to you to post. I just want to finish this back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
She does say, if you don't want to send her all the pictures, just delete them all from whatever hard drive you have and take her pictures down from any social media. Did you do either one of those things? That's what this back and forth seems to talk about.
I didn't, and I was never going to do it. Because...
Okay, just a second. I didn't ask you if the answer is no.
Okay, no.
Where are the photographs now, Mr. Long?
The photographs, I use, scan disc, so they're on the SD card.
So very easy to make another one and just give her a copy, is that right?
No.
What, it's hard? Is that hard, Sarah, to make a copy of that memory chip? What do you have to do?
I don't think so.
I mean, I've seen people do that before. They plug something in, they plug something in at the other end, and then one transfers to the other. Am I wrong?
It's not hard, no.
What?
It's not.
I think he's saying it's not impossible. He's just not going
nothing's
to do
impossible. But one, I don't send all photos to anyone. I've never sent every photo that I've taken of someone. I've never done it.
Then, Mr. Long, I don't care what you've never done.
Right.
Then, shh. Why don't you try listening? Well, the one that tends to benefit the most from the contract, business-wise, is you. You see, these photographs are not her business.
Do you want to use these photos for her business?
Do you see my mouth moving?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you be quiet and just listen?
Hello, I'm Bob Ross. Let me extend a personal invitation. We'll use a few big brushes, a dozen colors or so, and I'll show you how easy it is to create some of the most fantastic paintings you've ever seen. Let's go on up to the canvas here and get started.
Princess Davis has accused photographer Tavares Long of withholding photos from their photo shoot. Tavares says he can keep the photos he chooses because he owns them.
Okay, if there is ambiguity in an oral contract, two things should happen. First of all, the one that tends to benefit the most from the contract, business-wise, is you. That's not her business. You see, these photographs are not her business. She does.
She wants to use these photos for her business.
Do you see my mouth moving?
Yes, ma'am.
She works as an interpreter. So she doesn't need for her job as an interpreter photographs like this. They're nice to have to look through a book, nice to have professional photographs taken. I know Sarah loves to do that.
All right.
But this is your business.
It is.
And if you put up, why don't you be quiet and just listen? If you put her picture up on your website, you're the professional at photography, so that you have to create a contract. You, not her. This is a sport for her. This is social.
She said she models and she wants something for her portfolio.
She may want something, which is why she sat for you. She doesn't have the photograph, so you have two choices.
Mm-hmm.
Either you give her a copy of that drive that you have. You still own the pictures. Anytime that she wants to use the pictures, you have to get credit for the pictures.
I'm never going to give somebody every photo because I don't want any work out there that is not standard for my business to be out there and somebody post it. We took action shots. I'm not giving you shots and you blinking.
Mr. Long, Mr. Long, you came here and signed a document before you came into court today that you were going to be bound by any decision that I made.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the contract that you signed, that's what it said.
Okay.
So where do you come from? What city and state?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. And how did you get here?
Flew.
Yeah. And who paid for that?
I'm assuming you did.
Right. And when you got here, you stayed in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume you want to go home to Atlanta.
I do.
Eventually.
Hold on, you gonna...
No, I assume. And when you came here, sir, you also got a fee, an appearance fee. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how much did you get as an appearance fee for trying your case before me?
I can disclose that.
What, disclose it? I'm asking you a question. You're under oath.
I thought you wasn't supposed
No,
to
listen to me. Don't look at her.
Okay.
Listen to me.
All right.
How much of an appearance fee are you being paid to have your case tried before me?
$300.
$300. And you'd like that $300?
I mean, yeah.
What?
Yes, I would. Man.
So this is what I'm telling you. I'm holding your $300 until she gets a copy of the hard drive with the photographs on it.
Okay.
So if you don't give it to her, it's going to cost you at least $300. You're just lucky I'm not taking your airline ticket as well.
Yes, sir.
When a contract that is verbal is interpreted, because there may or may not be a meeting of the minds in a verbal contract, but it seems to me that you were, and you're the business professional, so you're loosey-goosey. You sit for me, and I want to use it for my website. Can I get copies of the photos? Yes, I can get copies. Yeah, you can get copies of the photo. Then you sent her copies of the photos, and then you took down the site. It's not my fault that you didn't do anything. So this is my judgment. She gets copies of the photo shoot that was conducted in November of 2021. She gets copies of those photographs. Anytime she wants to use any of those photographs for anything, any publicity, it has to have your name on it. So send it to her, who the photographer was, and you have to get credit for it. You own the photographs. They are your photographs, but she gets copies of them because I cannot ascertain, other than listening to you, I can actually hear you saying, sure, you're going to get copies. You're going to get copies. And then you selected the ones that you wanted to select. Anyway, that's my judgment. That's my judgment. You get copies, your counterclaims dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I don't agree with it.
I'm glad that it's over.
No photographer is ever going to send somebody 100% of any photo that they took.
He owed me those photos. That was our agreement.
I don't want work out there that doesn't represent me.
I don't understand why anyone would want to hold photos from somebody that was doing them a favor.
It just changed who I do business with.
I mean, it's just like the judge said, why would I put a bad photo of myself in public?
What they may believe is good may not be what I believe is good.
It makes no sense. He's just a total liar.
I thought I was doing something for a friend. And for free?
We weren't really friends. We were like social. Like, he's inflating that.
Now, that don't matter if it's free or not. I do put it in writing.
Just go to a different photographer. Don't you waste your time.
I think we have a difference of opinion on that one.
Okay.
My roommate from college is a professional photographer who has done sort of a similar arrangement with me, and I've learned a lot from her about the ins and outs of the photography business. And I know that a big problem for photographers is they don't want the raw, unedited, like the defendant was explaining, photos of out of, say, 400 or 500 out in the world if they haven't put their photographer edit or touch on it yet, which I can understand if that's their business. So if I were ruling, I would have maybe, it's hard to split the baby in half per se, but said 50 photos out of, she only received the 29. So maybe if he had edited up to his standards, 50 of the photos and delivered her downloadable versions, but I understand that's sort of rewriting history from a loosey-goosey type.
Well, it's rewriting a
arrangement.
contract. It is, and I actually see your point, but that would have required a lot of work for him.
Yeah, but he is the businessman. He should have had the contract to begin with.
Well,
and if
that's
you're
true.
going to be making statements to someone that you're going to give them all the photos, even though that's against what I know to be standard practice, then you're sort of out of luck. Then you're going to have unedited photos with your name attached to them. And as a photographer, you should really have more contracts in place for situations like this.
With a clear understanding by both parties. Yeah, that's his business, and he really wanted to use them for business.
Mm-hmm.
So he should have had a more stable written contract that I could interpret. Other than that, I was really comfortable with an all or nothing.
Yeah.
Either if you're going to use them and you've already used them on the website, a reasonable view of both their testimonies was he said, oh yeah, you'll get copies, and then later gave her just a select few. But I actually understand now the standard in practice, and I could have offered that as an alternative. Okay, you should poke me next time.
Yenny Pajaro is suing his ex-girlfriend, Gigi Strackman, for a plane ticket, credit card charges, and a stolen cat.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2016, Pajaro versus Stratman.
Mr. Perari, it is your claim that the defendant, who lived with you for a brief period of time, owes you money for a plane ticket and for her unauthorized use of your credit card.
That's correct.
I don't know what the defense is to this, except that I think her defense is that you were just stupid and she took advantage of you. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm actually trying to figure it out. But you met the defendant, according to you, on an online dating app and started a conversation with her on what date?
So we met in March 2020 on a dating app for LGBTQ people. We started dating in March 2020. 4 months later, she moved in with me, which I know is not smart, but...
July?
Yes, in July 2020.
And where had she been living?
She had been living in Florida.
And where do you live?
I live in Seattle, Washington.
Did you send her money for a plane ticket? How did she get to you?
She had money herself at that time to cover the cost of moving.
So she moved and it was her own funds that she used to move?
Yeah, the swindling hadn't started yet.
You must have had some substantial What is this? What is this look? I don't know what this look is.
Oh, it's just the verbiage.
Okay, well, let me go back and let me start with you, okay? Because there's only one theatrical person here in this room, and that's me. Do you understand?
I do.
Yes. I get paid the big bucks to be theatrical. Okay, so Miss Strackman, you lived in Miami. He lived in Seattle, Washington. You decided to move in with him. What kind of work were you doing in Seattle?
I was a video editor, but when COVID happened, everyone kind of lost their jobs.
And what arrangements did you make with him when you were going to move in with him?
He told me that if I gave up my life in Florida, I had a very lovely apartment, lots of friends.
You had a lovely apartment, you had
I
nice
gave up
friends,
everything to
but
go
no
and
job.
move to Seattle.
Okay, so he said, move to Seattle and I'll take care of you.
Yes.
That's what you say in here.
Yes.
And that was in July of 2020.
Yes.
Is that about what you said to her?
No. The reason she moved in, again, it was 4 months after we started dating, which normally...
Had you seen her during those 4 months?
We had Zoom.
That's either yes or no.
No.
No, you had no physical contact with her?
No.
Okay.
But because we were in lockdown and we were both pretty isolated, it made sense. Her lease was ending and things moved really fast between us, so we decided to try it together. Yeah.
Okay. Was there any discussion about what she was going to do once she got to Seattle?
Yeah, so as she stated, she was a freelance video editor, and she said she was going to potentially have more work in Seattle and continue to try and find gigs for that or find other employment, drive for Uber Eats.
But she came to you and she wasn't working?
She wasn't working, no.
Okay. And the relationship with her ended in what month?
It ended in February 2021.
So it was a relatively short live-in period, maybe 6-7 months.
Right, because of her.
Did she ever work when she was with you?
Not that I
Just a second, I'm going to ask her. Did you ever have full-time gainful employment during the time that you lived with the plaintiff?
I did not. I was not supposed to.
I didn't ask you. I don't ask to be editorialized. I asked you, did you ever work full-time?
No.
Did you ever work part-time?
No.
Okay. Then there came a time, according to what I read in both of your papers, that he purchased a plane ticket for you to go back to Miami. That would be a yes.
That is correct. You're
And
right.
what month was that?
That was in February of 2021.
And tell me, in your own words, what you told him as to why you wanted to go to Miami, because he wasn't going with you.
He was not going with me.
Tell me what you told him as to why you needed to go to Miami.
I told him that I needed to visit my sister.
And does your sister live in Miami?
Yes.
Had you been there to visit her before?
I had, yeah.
While you were living with him?
No. I didn't travel.
So this was the first time you wanted to go and visit your sister?
Yes.
Okay, was there any specific reason that you gave him as to why you wanted to go visit your sister?
She was sick and I wanted to be there.
But did you tell him what she was sick with?
Yeah, it was COVID.
Does she live alone?
At the time, yes.
You know, it's not going to be easy. It's going to get harder. Now, the plaintiff seems like a relatively intelligent human being. Hands off hips. If somebody I lived with say, I want to go and see, unless it was a young child, maybe in a school or something that lived alone in an attic dormer, I want to go see my sister who's sick with COVID, and you don't have COVID, and this is 2021, I would say, well, why would you do that and put yourself at risk and then come back and put me at risk? Didn't you have that conversation?
We didn't, Your Honor, no. It just didn't come up.
I want to go take care of my sister because she has COVID? What about isolation? Didn't you ever hear about that?
I did hear about that. I spent a lot
Well,
of
what do you
time
think that means?
Isolation means not traveling.
No, isolation means you're not supposed to be around other people if you test positive for COVID. If you're sick, stay at home. You don't travel cross country to be with somebody who's sick. But it doesn't make any difference, actually, because you should have picked up on that or whatever, because you didn't really want this ticket, according to what I read, Miss Strackman, to go and visit your sick sister. You needed this ticket because you had started to become involved with a boyfriend who was in jail in Florida.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So that's a yes, which you didn't tell him. So you took the money from him for, let's just start with the ticket, under false pretenses.
I did, but I...
Just a second. That's all. I did. Not a but. Not a little. I did take the money from him under false pretenses when you went to Florida. He said you needed it for one thing, and in fact, you didn't. That's under false pretenses. How much was the ticket?
The ticket was for $427.40.
Okay. And when you went to Florida, Miss Strackman, and you stayed in a hotel, motel? What did you stay in?
I stayed in a hotel.
And whose charge account did you use for the hotel?
Yenny had given me a credit card.
That's not what I asked you. That's a name. Whose credit card did you use when you stayed at the hotel?
The plaintiff, Yenny's.
Mm-hmm. And that was by pre-arrangement with him that you were going to stay in a hotel rather than with your sister?
No, but I had the credit card for...
Now, that's not what I mean. Let's go back. You had the credit card. I'm assuming for the purpose of this question that what you say, and I don't know if it's true, but assuming for this question that what you say in your answer is accurate, that he gave you a credit card to use for your necessaries and expenses for emergencies.
Yes.
Yes. You would agree that going to visit secretly another boyfriend in Miami is not a necessity.
You would agree that Yenny cheating on me was not a necessity?
No. But did you use his credit card?
I did, and I believe that human loving kindness...
Okay, just a second. That's it. Do I look like I need help from you? If you had given him, Miss Strackman, a credit card, I want you to try to take everything else from out of your mind. If you had given him your credit card and said, I'm giving this to you because I said to you I would take care of you when we lived together if you didn't have a job. Let's say I believe that. I'm not so sure, but let's say I believe that. You would agree that going to see another boyfriend across the country was not a necessity for him. Or for me? Or for Whitney?
For you, no.
Or for Sarah?
For me, I'm a woman with needs. I need dopamine. I need love. I need connection. And I wasn't getting that from Yenny. So it was a necessity that I went to go visit another man. Yenny had other girls as well on the side.
But you didn't pay, just a second, Miss Trackman, you didn't pay for the other girls. You didn't pay for his other girls.
I paid emotionally.
Oh, you said, what an idiot.
Yenny Pajaro claims his ex-girlfriend, Gigi Strackman, owes for the cost of a plane ticket, credit card charges, and stealing his cat. Gigi says they were all necessary expenses for her.
Now, you should feel so lucky that you got off so cheap.
I think you should assume everything that comes out of her mouth.
No. Yeah.
Because
no.
if I had, I wouldn't be here.
I get who I'm dealing with,
Yes.
sir. $427 for the flight ticket. How much was the credit card?
The credit card. Also, there's an incident with my cat as well, which
Just a second.
I'll address later.
Well, I'm going to get to that in a minute. That's your least strong suit, but it sort of tells me again who I'm dealing with.
Okay.
How much did she use on the credit card in Miami?
Okay.
Only in Miami.
Right. In Miami, she spent $1,000 on...
Now, just a second. Is that a sheet from your credit card company?
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Easier.
Would you like me to add the $427 for the flight ticket?
Yeah. But separate the two for me now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Giving you start, just show me where the bills are.
So those are two separate credit card statements because she used it in 2 separate months. One of those is when she initially started using it, which was...
I don't care when she initially started.
Okay.
Let's understand.
Yeah.
She got your credit card.
Yes.
I only want to see the charges from Miami.
Okay. It's the one that says bail bonds, the bigger charge, which was...
Just circle.
Okay.
How much?
That was for $1,000, but overall it was...
No, $1,000. We're going to do it this way. $1,000 bail bonds.
Yes.
Okay, next.
And then she spent $262.50 at a hotel for both of them.
$250 for a hotel.
And then she spent $105 on a fancy dinner for her and her lover.
And her what?
And her lover.
Okay, 150?
150 is not fancy. That's the kind of person you're dealing with.
150. I don't think there's a question before you, madam. 10, 4, $1,400 there. Is that close?
Including the 1,000?
Including the 1,000, but then not including the 425.
Yeah.
So it would be 1,827.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Now let's get to the final issue. So that takes care of your plane ticket and the credit card while she was in Miami. Now let's talk about the cat. Ms. Strackman, you moved in with the plaintiff July of 20.
Yes.
And when you moved in with the plaintiff, did he have a cat?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And what was that cat's name?
That cat's name was Momo.
And you lived with him a total of approximately 6 months.
Yes, Your Honor. And during that time, the cat...
No, I didn't ask you any questions. There's no question before
Daddy.
you. There's no question before you. I have dates. You moved in, you lived with him for 6 months. When you moved in, the cat was there. And if you recall, in what month and year had you gotten the cat?
I got Momo right before she moved in with me as an emotional support animal, which is legally protected.
When you say right before she moved in with you, give me the month.
It was
and where did you get the cat from?
June 2020. I adopted her from a shelter.
So you didn't have the cat long?
No.
When she moved in?
No.
And then the two of you had the cat?
Yes.
Okay,
but
great.
The cat was
and then when she, just a second, then when she left in February of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are now in August of 2022, and you recently filed this case with regard to your cat.
Right. I didn't know where she was.
Just a second.
Disappeared.
I don't care.
Okay.
You recently filed this case with regard to the cat. Did you make a police report when she left with the cat?
I don't.
The answer is either yes or no.
I don't like involving the police, so no. I didn't want to ruin her life.
Oh, well. I want to tell you something. I have a small 4-pound dog at home. I love that creature more than anything in the world, except my grandchildren, my husband, and my children. Hope there are enough life rafts for everybody, including the dog.
I did try to hire a private investigator in Florida, but I didn't know where she was.
Okay. You didn't report it to the police. And I do have a problem with that. Now, Ms. Strackman, you knew when you moved into him he had this cat that he had adopted.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me what led you to believe you had the legal right to take that cat?
Because that cat had become severely bonded to me. Yenny was neglecting both of us, both of the women in his life he chose to neglect.
Because I was working and
No, just a second. Don't.
Sorry, I paid
don't,
for everything.
And so the cat.
So
and I
he was
bonded.
neglecting the cat and you, so you decided maybe half a neglect, you could be one whole person.
Exactly. Me and her are just getting out of here and going to go start a new life together. I spent day and night with that cat. That cat was extremely bonded to me. She would be devastated without me.
Tell me how the cat died in your custody. Tell me how the cat died in your custody. That's not a smile story.
It's not. No, it's absolutely devastating. I am completely torn up about it. Unfortunately, my boyfriend's dog was not accustomed to cats and mistook her for a toy, and she did not survive that.
What kind of a dog does your boyfriend have?
We don't know the breed. I've never done the genetic testing.
Do you have a picture of the dog?
I do not. I didn't bring any evidence. So I was hoping you just used
brought your smile. Okay.
She's not with her boyfriend.
She said, I didn't ask you a question. There's no question before you.
Love transcends bars, Annie.
Okay. 1827, $1,000 for taking his cat, and because you're a fool. 7, 2, 8, 2827. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
First of all, I'm glad, and I think justice was served. I'm not for Momo, but for the other scams that Jacqueline pulled.
That I need dopamine, I need oxytocin, I need love, I need care.
Well, credit card fraud.
And Yenny said that they were going to be the person who was going to give that to me.
Deception, played with my heart.
And then didn't, so I had to find it elsewhere.
It was incredibly, this was Momo.
I did not have the cat killed. I was very attached to Momo. That was my cat as well.
It was incredibly hard to deal with. I was also alone when I had to process that news, so.
I did not set a hitman out on the cat. That's a lot to say.
She saw me as a sugar daddy, and she saw herself as a wannabe Anna Nicole Smith. Unfortunately, neither of us are those things.
Could I plead the fifth on finding another sugar daddy?
Yet another lesson we learned about cohabitants living together and the rules of what not to do. No cars, no pets, no money exchanges.
No joint pets, no joint.
Exactly. But today we learned a new one. Today, don't give access to your credit card to anyone that you don't want racking up charges for any purpose, even to visit a secondary lover in another state.
You know, the divorce rate in this country is still hovering we're around 50%. The living togethers who don't quite make it to the marriage place is a much greater number.
Yeah.
Living togethers don't stay together 70% of the time. Why in the world would you buy a pet together?
It's a risk.
Car together? A timeshare together?
True.
Or give somebody a credit card.
Yeah.
At the time that you do it, you're happy with them. But since at least 70% of the time you're going to go your own separate ways, at that time you're mad at each other.
And the lines get blurry.
And the lines get blurry, absolutely.